Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
And I'm a fan of games with incredibly sparse rules.
And today, we are going to be going over Wulfwald from Paolo Greco of Lost Pages. Wulfwald is an RPG set in a world of mythic Anglo-Saxon tales where you play as a wolf's head, an outcast adventurer trying to regain a place in society. This is a fun one. This is
Will you hold up the box set one more time? Because I actually don't have the box set. Although now I'm like, I gotta buy the box set.
I will. I'll actually go through the entire down camera because I have it set up today. So we'll be going through that. So yes, this is a box set. This is a box set. It is 5 zines that it amounts to 250 pages ish. So we're gonna try to not screw around and actually jump right into it today. But we're also going to try to make this episode a little bit, I don't know, more dialed in. We took notes, actually.
And by we, he means him.
And we're going to try to kind of read through things a little bit easier, a little bit more effectively. Maybe not get so tied up on rule stuff that you can just read yourself, and give you the game more. So this is the first time trying that. We'll see how successful it is. We're 16 minutes in with the pre-stream, so we'll see what we get when we're doing. So unless we have anything crazy to go over, I can switch to the down cam. We can actually talk about the. I
got nothing really major. I mean, I think we're both mentally gearing up for a Zine Quest next month, but
which we're not. We did enough last year.
We did enough every year for the past several. But yeah, let's hit that down cam.
Yeah, let's hit this down cam. So yeah, here we go. Look at those hands. So this is Wulfwald. For you, for all of you out there in podcast land, I highly recommend checking this out on the stream right now. You can also just go check it out on the Lost Pages website. But how beautiful is this box? So it's a white box. It's holding, there are 5 A5 zines inside, and it comes with a cloth map, which is wonderful. But let's talk about the box first. So it has the logo. It says Wulfwald in red, and above that, I assume in a runic language in red that also says Wulfwald. There's this fantastic black 3-headed wolf icon logo. And at the bottom it says L. Reynoldson. It's got the I logo for Lost Pages, and then it says Lost Pages. One of the other things I love about the box, before we even get into the box, is on all 4 corners of the box, it has like the runic logo, the I, and Lost Pages. So however you put it on your shelf, you'll be able to see it. And one thing that I really love is a lot of books from parts of Europe do a weird thing where on the spine it aims that way. So if you lay it flat, it's upside down. This doesn't. It's great. And actually, if you take the lid off the box, on the inside edge of the bottom box, there's even more stuff. So on one of the edges is the little drawings of little illustrations of a wolf howling, starting to run, and then running towards a deer all along one side. On one side, there are these 4 like ocean creatures, like Loch Ness kind of things coming up out of the water dragons and things. On the other side, there are these 4 kind of goblin troll-esque figures on one side, and then there's a necromancer with 3 skeletons with running towards him on the other. And on the top it says to Russ with a bird.
A shining one, you mean?
A shining one. Yeah. And that is all before we even get into the box. And this is us getting into the box. So starting with, there is a beautiful cloth map. We'll go over the map in the actual review. You get that with the digital version of this. And then you get 5 zines. We're going to go over why that fucking is amazing, and I love it so much. But we get 5 zines in here. We get Wolfsheads, we get magic, we get campaigns, we get monsters, and we get people. 5 different zines in here. They're all wonderful. They're beautifully laid out. They're all roughly like 45 to 60-ish pages. They're stunning. It's very reminiscent of the cover of the box. It looks exactly like the cover of the box. It just has volume 1 of 5 booklets, and then the name Wolfsheads on volume 1. Otherwise, it's the same, all white on the back too, and then it has the Lost Pages logo. It's gorgeous. And then on the back of the box, you get all sorts of info about the game. Wulfwald, you get, Wulfwald is a role-playing game that blah, blah, blah. You get a list of a breakdown of all 5 booklets. You get like the map in small on the back. It's great. It's great. And then 2 more illustrations. This giant and a dragon on the back. So the box is gorgeous. It's lush. It's nice. It's thick. It doesn't feel cheap by any stretch of the imagination. The printing on it, the color is super vibrant and really, really nice. All said and done, it's a gorgeous freaking box set, and I love it. And again, the attention to the details on the box edges, both on the lid and the box itself, love it so much. It's fantastic. What do you think? What do you think of that, buddy?
I mean, I love this. I mean, as a product and box set, it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, again, what we do here on the show, we do as much product review as we do game review. That's why we generally wait to have physical products in our hands, because listen, games are great, but actually owning them and them being nice is also nice too. So everything Lost Pages does is always to the nines. So this is one that absolutely does that. So let's kick over to the regular review here. I set that camera up nice this time. I was very happy that it looked.
You did
really
a great job, buddy. Good job.
I'll close that up. I'm gonna turn off my extra light here, and we're gonna get into this, and we'll get into the notes. So, Wulfwald. So we're looking at volume 1. Let me actually. So the PDFs do not come with the cover attached, which is fine.
But it's a choice.
But you do get all of the covers as other PDFs to look at. So just through the cover of 1 up right there, so you can see that it's front and back. So if you print it out, you can just print the cover. Is my assumption, which is neat. So that's number 1. But we'll go back to Wulfwald 1, Volume 1, Wolfsheads, a Lost Pages book, issue extra numero. I believe when I talked to Paolo previously, they said that for those that collect all of the Lost Pages books, the magic books get numbers and the non-magic books get these extra numeros. So if you look at some of the previous stuff that they've put out, you'll see some are issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 8, et cetera, et cetera. So designed by Reynoldson, development by Paolo Greco. This is early medieval literature expert, which was, this is a game about like early medieval Anglo-Saxon era. So it's nice to have that expert on. That's Alison Kalilia. Editing also by Alison Kalilia. Cover art by Katie Wacklin. Interior art by Stefano Accordi. And cartography by Ross Nicholson. First printing summer 2023. Great. So we get to a small table of contents, which is great, except...
Yep.
The thing, it's not hyperlinked. Of course, we're going to complain about that, right? That's us. Also, I will say in the first book, it also has no bookmarks. So there's no real way to navigate the book. And it is a 60-page book. So that kind of sucks a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, it is. It's kind of, the sections are pretty large in this book. I guess I kind of see why they didn't bookmark it, but,
Yeah.
No,
I don't see why they did at all. But
regardless, you bookmarked our notes page for this.
So. So before we get into the book, let's talk about it a little bit. Again, this is Wulfwald. This is from Paolo Greco of Lost Pages. It is a ttrpg set in a mythic Anglo-Saxon. I'm going to move my notes over here. It is set in a mythic Anglo-Saxon. Bro, if I could read my own notes, that'd be great. Let's start from the top. Hello, Wolfheads from. This is Wulfwald from Paolo Greco of Lost Pages. It's a ttrpg set in a world of mythic Anglo-Saxon tales where the players are Wolfsheads, outcasts, outlaws, and outsiders trying to regain a place in society. This was originally on Kickstarter. It funded March 22nd, 2022 with 559 backers for £17,806, which comes out to about 21,673 buckaroos. So that's neat. Honestly, should have funded for more. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
This game
I'm surprised it wasn't bigger. This is cool.
Yeah. Same. I mean, it's a fantastic game. I'm a big fan. What are your initial takes before we get too deep into here?
I think for someone like me, this is an amazing game. Yep.
Yeah. We'll talk about what that means here shortly, because we definitely have opinions on what you mean by that. So let's just get into the book. So in the table of contents, you have a couple of sections. You have the game of Wulfwald. You have Wulfwald characters, Wulfwald gear, and then a couple of appendices, the Anglo-Saxon names, and the Old English pronunciation notes, which is great. I want to roll to that right off the bat. Get to page 52 here. It is really dope that this is in here. They have a whole section here where it basically says the following tables are intended for use with Wulfwald and OSC. No, that's not what I want. That's OSC tables.
Wrong section.
Yep. Old English pronunciations. They are presented here for textual flavor in the game, but damn, it's hard. Anyone that knows anything about linguistics, like diphthongs and accents and things, if it's not your native tongue, are hard. So they basically say here that sure, go ahead and try if you want. It's mostly for flavor, but pretty much everything also has, like when it says dwargos, it also says dwarves. So you can just use dwarves for your table. That's totally fine. If you want to throw in a couple of the Old English kind of words every now and then just for the flavor, go for it. But regardless, there is a whole section here on how to pronounce vowels, diphthongs, consonants, all sorts of stuff. And that's great that that's in here. I love that. That is here. So if you do want to attempt to try to speak a little bit more to the language, that's great. So getting into the game of Wulfwald itself. So basically this beginning part, I'll read a little bit at the top and then we'll go over a bit. To a Thegan, the wolf pack is little more than a tool, a weapon to be wielded and wielded ruthlessly. He cares little for the members as individuals. They're expendable, ignoble outlaws to whom he owes no real loyalty. The Thegan cares only what they can do for him, and what a wolf pack can do is threaten, beat, rob, murder, assassinate, and terrorize his enemies. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. So basically, this section here talks about the setting of Wulfwald. And the setting is based on parts of our Earth and its history, but it is not our Earth. It is its own thing. And it's specifically set in a time like the early Middle Ages, like sometimes called the Dark Ages, especially pre-Christianized Germanic cultures of the early medieval English and migration periods of Europe between CE 400 and CE 700. It does say, though, that like many fantasy settings in Wulfwald, the myth and magic that was superstition in Earth's history is real, if rare, and it is a world of men, kings, queens, lords, warriors, serfs, and slaves. That is the world that we are in. There's other kindred in the world, but we're going to go over those, so we don't really need to talk about it here. What type of game is Wulfwald? This is where we're going to have our first discussion. So what type of game is it? The PCs are outsiders and outlaws known as Wolfsheads. That's what you as a players are. You are outsiders and outlaws. You are outside the law, which means anyone can harm or kill you without fear of retaliation. So this is a perilous life full of fear and mistrust. Basically, in this world, it's very small. It's very community-based, it's very local, and the law is very rigid, and the people have very specific places within society. And you, as a wolfhead, as an outcast, as an outlaw, you are outside of that system completely. And it is a very rigid system. People know that you are outside of it. So they can literally just run up to you, stab you in the throat, and walk away, and people will be just like, fuck that guy. And they're totally fine with that. That works, right? That's this game, and that's what you are, right? And then so Wulfwald assumes you've grown tired of being lone Wolfsheads and have banded together in service of a noble warrior lord, which is a Thagan, which is what I said before. It's capital THEGN. And you form what is called a wolf pack. You are a dire weapon to be wielded ruthlessly. And then under that lord's protection, you are safe in their territory. You are given food, shelter, coin, gifts, and those gifts bestow honor on you. And as you accomplish greater and greater things, you can actually start to shirk off that dishonor and reclaim a place in society, potentially eventually being a warrior lord yourself. And one thing that I do like about one of the sections here is that it says a wolf pack is a unique thing. It is singular, it is one-off, it is an elite force. So there are not a shitload of wolf packs running around. You are the wolf pack. If maybe there's one in the future, it might be some lord saw your wolf pack and was like, that's dope, I want my own group of killers. And then they're there, but you're singular. You are this elite kind of black ops Suicide Squad of Anglo-Saxon Dark Ages.
Yeah, we got Harley Quinn, and me and my bros, we call ourselves the Wolf Pack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, get it.
I think it was funny reading that.
Yeah.
I had a comment. I might save it actually. So I'll save it. We'll get there.
Okay, dope. So the next section is Adventurers in Wulfwald.
So I do have one comment. Is it Thagan or is it Thane?
Oh, let's go to the old English. I would love it to be Thane.
Talk of the G, but I think it's Thane, like a sword.
Thane sounds better, and
that's like a lower level lord that would serve like another higher level lord. Essentially, there's always a bigger lord, none bigger than Jesus, though, right?
Right. It does say the alternate spelling of Thane. Thank God, because Thagan was just, Thane. Thank you. Yeah, so it's a Thane, and that sounds way better. This is the part right here. It says, Wulfwald carry out what in modern world would be the equivalent of Black Ops covert military organizations. We're getting into the adventures in Wulfwald. I think I skipped ahead of myself a little bit. So the adventures are meant to be these Black Ops covert military missions in the... it's not wilderness exploration. It's not dungeon delving. It specifically says that is not the game that you're playing. You're not worried about those kind of things. You're not worried about hoarding coins or magical treasures. You're not doing any of that stuff. You are given a mission. You're expected to execute that mission. You get the mission objective. You execute the plan. You deal with the aftermath and consequences. Then you get rewarded or admonished. And that's it. I love that. I love that in this world, you obviously could expand and play a little bit more of an open world setting, right? But I really like that Wulfwald is very focused in on, nope, you are, again, Suicide Squad, Black Op operatives. You are go assassinate that guy, and here's the stuff that you need for it, and if you do it, you'll get a reward. And you go, cool, we're gonna go do that, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna get a reward, and that's it. I really like the hyper focus of that.
I really do too. I think it is. And a lot of this game kind of leans into this style of it. It really reinforces this as you don't worry about those things, like gold, all that's taken care of. You are literally just finish a mission and be rewarded by your lord, by the lord,
by the Thane. Yeah. And I really like that it simplifies the game quite a bit to not have to worry about inventory and things like that. Which is interesting. Again, you could just throw that into the setting, because the setting on its own is incredibly interesting. But you don't have to if you're playing Wolfsheads. But you could honestly just have a whole thing where you're just we're not playing Wolfshead. We're actually being the elves in the woods, or we're actually, working on our thing. You could, but I would play it. I would play what's here. I like this kind of Black Ops.
I would absolutely play what's here. I really want to play this.
Yeah, it's cool. So playing the game, it says these rules are yours. This is the part I meant where we're going to have our first kind of let's talk about this a bit. So the core rules will be familiar to anyone that played the TSR era D&D or any retro clones, and assumes that you have at least a basic familiarity with those styles of games and role-playing games in general, whether you call them OSR, whether you call them anything BX, anything that can use the original couple editions of D&D as its lineage, old school based games, right? It expects their for you to have an understanding of that. And the game is written in such a way. I believe I've stolen this lingo from Aaron King, if I remember correctly, but there's 101 games, there's 201 games, and 31, as in like school, right? Like intro classes and then more advanced classes. This is not a 101. This is not.
Definitely not.
There's basically not a rule set in this. It literally says.
It is not. Yeah.
It says, it assumes that you have a familiarity with BX, and then you're only given the things you need that are a little bit different in here to build on what you know about BX, right? It says it offers an alternative campaign style, and even if the rules contain guidance on how to play Wulfwald, it's not the other true way to play. You can keep or make whatever you want. Basically, it says bring the rules to the table. On the website, it actually says, if you go to the actual shop page for it, there's a section here that says it's designed to be broadly compatible and played with BX, OSC, and all other clones. And it's not a retro clone. You bring your own rules. You don't need yet another booklet explaining how to roll to hit, save, or find a secret door. Here's the thing. I like that. I've said over and over again, I personally think a game design for everybody is a game design for nobody. Right. I really like games that are hyper-focused either on its intent and I love games that are like, hey, this ain't a beginner game. And it's not going to be your first game. You're not going to find some weird, esoteric, borderline FKR LARP game that's going to have like what is a role-playing game section. Like, it's not that. And I'm so fine with that. Not every game is an intro game, and not every game is for everybody. And that's totally fine. Every piece of media is like that. You don't hop into a music genre and immediately go to the weirdest, freakiest, deepest, darkest versions of that music, right? There are bands in every genre that kind of get you into it, that are kind of like starters, that are a little bit closer to mainstream, that push you in those directions. And that same thing works with tabletop role-playing games. There are games designed to get you into the game, things like Mouse Ritter, which are fantastic games, but are definitely 101 games for people that have never played before. They can easily pick that up. This not only is not that, it says straight off the bat, it's not that, but it also says in a very nice way. It says, which isn't to say Wulfwald is in any way complex, expert, advanced, or somehow superior. It isn't. It's just written with the expectation that you're not new to the hobby. I'm so fine with that. It's a waste sometime of 3 or 4 pages to write up like, what is a role-playing game? What is role-playing? This is the dice notations.
What do you need to play?
Right? For games that clearly newer players aren't going to play. I personally think that's fine because it's not written in any type of like vindictive, like elitist way. Like, this isn't for you. It's just like, this is just a more advanced game. Like, if you've played a bunch of BX, you'll get it, and if you haven't, you won't. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is earlier. I was like, this is a game that's definitely like for me, because I'm so familiar. Like, I read this and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'd be down to play this immediately. But yeah, I think I would be shocked if anyone found this as their first game, and I would be even more shocked if they tried to run it as their first game. That's definitely not who this is for. And you know, I like you just said, like we often say, like, I like when a game is made for someone, you know, like, and I just happen to really like this one because I'm the person it was made for.
Yeah. I mean, you were obsessed with Wolfswald on the Coast, and I feel like this is very adjacent.
Yeah, and I'm slowly building an OSE campaign right now, and you know, I dig this shit. Actually, there's OSE rules for this. But
which is dope. There's a whole zine we'll get to at the end. I will say, so the counterpoint to that though, because even though I fuck with this, I fuck with the decision to do this, I'm a big fan. I don't think someone could pick this up and just play it because there aren't rules. There is no explanation of like how to roll to hit. Like, there is, like, it never even says in this game anywhere ever, D20 roll over. You know what I mean?
It never says it.
It explains magic as a D20 roll under, but it literally does not tell you how to swing a sword like anywhere in this, which is fine. Again, it tells you right off. It's BX. You go, oh, okay, D20 roll over, right?
Right.
So you couldn't pick this up and play it as your first game, but I think someone who really wanted to play this, I think it would be a good idea to be like, oh, wait, so what? So let me go read some BX then. Like, and there's BX RPG or like any fucking retro clone. Like, you just go get, OD&D or Mold Bay or whatever you want to read, and then hop into this. But I will say the counter argument, the devil's advocate to this is that does create a small barrier to play, right? Like, so that person that does really want to play this but hasn't played a game yet is going to have to go do their research before they can go play this. So there is a small barrier there, which again is the point. But this whole section here, where it talks about that, like that it's not for beginners, basically, like it expects some level of understanding of how to play. It's 6 lines, and in those 6 lines, I also think you could have written like, this assumes a basic understanding of BX, and if you don't have that, that means D20 rollover for this, like this is stats. This is, like, I think you could easily do in 6 lines like an extremely basic rundown of BX. Yeah, and someone could hop in to do that.
I think it probably end up being more than 6 lines, but not by like a wild amount. I do think you could put a brief thing here, but I mean, I'm always interested in that. Like, Watt has talked about this before. The intersection, and I don't know if it was on the show or if we were just chatting, but the intersection of like art and the product, like as a product that you want to get in the hands of as many people as possible in a very like capitalistic way. Like, yes, this is a barrier, but as like an art piece game, that also other weird intersection. Like, I get it,
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I think there are definitely people this won't be for, and maybe that will hurt how many people end up playing this game. But this game is not made for those people unless they get deeper in anyway.
And that's the entire point. I think I love this. I think it's the absolute correct choice to just be like, hey, this isn't a beginner game. Once you learn some BX, come back. And just the idea that like it's just written with an expectation you know what you're talking about, which saves me 30 pages of writing a fucking rule set that's already been written 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But it's lost pages too. I mean, they're right up there with like Games Omnivorous and a couple others that are more of like kind of like an art house publisher. You know what I mean? They do what they want. They do what they want to fucking do the way they want to fucking do it, with much less of a worry about the capitalist aspect of it, and are successful because of how well they do that thing, not successful because they're specifically trying to like maximize market profits.
They're not trying to pander to the lowest common denominator. Like,
no, they wanted to make a thing and they fucking make a thing, and I love the fuck out of that. I'm a big fan of this. So yeah, good call. I really like it. So moving forward, Wulfwald has 3 levels, which I really like. There is basically Wolfsheads, the heroes, and then the Wolf Lords, but there is obviously some Old English for it. Are we going to butcher it the whole way? Wolfsheads, Hildewolf, and Wolfdreiten. The Wolfsheads are your starters. It's 0 to 3,999 XP. They're basically your beginner Wolfsheads, the people that you started with that are seen as outlaws that would be hunted without the Thane's protection. The Hildewolf, or the heroes, are 4,000 to 31,999 XP. They're still technically outlaws, but have gained some respect and renown and are seen as loyal warriors. They might even attract the attention of their Thane's eldermen and could end up working for them. So you could get your boss's boss checking you out, which would be cool. And then the last one, the Wolfdreiten, the Wolf Lord. They have earned a place of respect in society, and any warrior would be glad to serve with or under them. They may be of service to the king, or even put their eldermen on the throne to be king. There's a box here, which I love. It says and I also love the boxes. We'll get to talk about layout in just a second. But it says that this concept is based on Dave Arneson's veteran hero superhero from Blackmore, and that you can just use milestone leveling if you don't want to track XP. So once you feel like they've gained enough respect to bump up to the hero, the Hildewolf, you can just let them do that. And once you think that they've got to Wolf Lord, you can let them do that. That's what I would do. I fucking have never liked tracking XP. The second I learned about milestone leveling is what I've almost always used. What about you?
I widely prefer milestone leveling, but I also do enjoy gold for XP. Just because I think that's incredibly easy to track. Like, how much gold you got, Yeah. But for the most part, I mean, I run milestone at my own table, so.
Yeah. I mean, I like gold for XP, but obviously in this game, we've already talked about, like, we don't worry about gold in this.
There isn't that. So, which is fine. I mean, I think this is great. And I mean, I'm fine with. Also, I think that there is like an XP layout for like when you should get there, but also the openness of being like, but if they do something like really great and maybe like XP wise they're not there, but like canonically in story they are there to be like more recognized, and yeah, just fucking let them do it. You know, let them have it. You know?
Yeah, just fucking let them have it, guys. Come on. I really like that. Speaking about gold, we have a whole section here. The next big section is XP. It's your experience and treasure. So there's a whole list here of basically the cost or the XP that you get for the rewards that you get. Because
so
experience
it's kind of an inverse of like the regular, like instead of turning in gold to get experience points, instead you finish your quest and your lord gifts you with things, and those things give you XP, which is a super cool flip on the model.
Yeah, gained gifts, rewards are XP, right? And you don't get XP for combat or for treasure found or looted. Combat has its own reward, survival, as does treasure. The more you have, the more power and influence you can buy. So you can have treasure, you can have gold and coin and things like that. But here's the thing. If you have 1,000,000 gold, right, and you're a Wolfhead, that doesn't mean shit because everyone fucking hates you and you're some outlaw, outcast from society. What the fuck are you going to do with it? You know, because you're going to be like, here's 1,000,000 gold. And people are going to be like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, so there definitely comes a point where your respect in society and the amount of gold you have are eventually gonna like get to a point where it's actually useful.
I also like this because I always really love the idea of like, I'm thinking more like Norse, but like all like Northern European, like old school warriors, at least in like terrible novels that I've read, are always like adorned with things. You know, they always have like armbands and rings, and like they'll have gold rings spun into their beards. And if you play a game where you turn in that gold for XP, your characters aren't incentivized to hold on to those things to like decorate their character and make them look like accomplished heroes. But in this game, though, of course, I mean, they might sell it, but money isn't as valuable as this in those systems. So they will have these things adorned, and they'll go in with their gold rings and their armbands and their earrings and like look like experienced warriors.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, because a lot of that's not going to be treasure that they looted from something. They're going to have that like gold armband because their lord gave them that because they assassinated that fucking guy. So it's not just that it's a cool gold armband worth a bunch of money. It's a reward and a symbol from your lord of their favor, which is fucking dope as hell. Big fan.
Yeah, it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, all right. Nice big full page piece of art here of a pup looking at just chests of treasure in a room that's got a bunch of other treasure and stuff in it. I like that there's a full page piece of art here. We haven't talked about the layout a little bit. Before we get into the characters and stuff, this will be chapter 2. Let's talk about it a little bit. I really like the spread of the layout. So let's go to a page that has all the things that I want to talk about. So let's view this in a 2-page view. So on every page spread, you get on the even page, the left-sided page, there is a cool page border in the top, like across the top and top left of the page, which has these, you know, Anglo-Saxon-y, you know, knots and leaves and things like that, which is really dope. There's some runes across the top. And then at the top right of the odd page, the opposite side, it says chapter 1, the game of Wulfwald. So it gives you each chapter, and I think even when you're in the chapter, it gives you chapter sections. So the next chapter, when we go to characters, it'll say characters at the top. But then when you hit the warriors, it'll say warriors. When you hit skirmishers, it'll say skirmishers. And it's just a great, super clean layout. I also love that they don't do like 2-column, you know. It's full page. It's got nice size margins. The font's nice and big. It's super readable. All of the headers are big font, separated. Like, it's just very spacious. Like, that's one thing that I love about the 5-zine thing. And let me rant about that for just a minute. Give me like 30 seconds. This is absolutely 1,000,000% my preferred way to get and read a book. I think when you have a box set full of 5 zines that equal 250 pages versus one giant book that's 250 pages. First of all, it's so much easier to parse the information.
Well, it's already partially parsed for you, you know?
And that's the thing. And here, when you, one thing that we see when we read a lot of these bigger books is that when you have that information, even if you said chapter 1 is the game, chapter 2 is the characters, for some reason people be like, oh, but I have 250 pages, let me take a little bit of the info and put it over here, let me take a little bit of the info and put it over here. The info kind of has this like bleed into the rest of the book, so you'll randomly go into like chapter 8 and be like, oh, here's something else for your character, right? I just couldn't fit it back in that other chapter or whatever. Like, that is frustrating, you know. One book that I think is a good example of that, we won't harp on it too much, you'll know what I'm talking about, is His Majesty the Worm. I think that would have been a much more successful book as 5 zines, what it originally had been kind of laid out with on the itch page, because so much of the information kind of got spread over so many different sections. And again, great game. I just think as a product, it would have been more successful in this format. And not only that, this format lets me go, okay, I just want to read the characters right now. Let me just take this one zine and sit and chill and read this and take this to the table and do whatever, and not have to lug around a giant 250 page book and flip through a bunch of pages to try to figure out what I'm talking about and make sure that everything I'm on is only in just this one chapter, not in this other chapter and this other chapter too. I just think it focuses in the attention, it focuses in the just what you need when you need it into these separate things. And I'm this is absolutely 1,000,000% my preferred thing, is to break things up. Like, I love the Vaults of Varn collected book or whatever, but I will always prefer it as the 3 or 4 zines as opposed to the whole book together.
Well, I don't have the 3 or 4 zines, so I'm taking the whole book together on that one. Yeah, I really enjoy this as well. I mean, I have slowly been working, like I said earlier, on an OSC thing. I want to run for my table. And so I have like the box sets, which are all divided up the same way. You know, they're not the single tomes, and they're spread out. And like, I really only refer to the things that I need to when I need to. And I don't know, for me personally, and this is like a completely meaningless statement, I love having that like several different like zines or books that are all one thing spread out, and like looking through things as I need it, you know? If it's a very satisfying way, it's like, you know, the wizard at his desk with all these scrolls laid out, like referencing them. It's a very satisfying way to work on stuff, you know?
I just want the information when I want it, and I think it's much more table friendly to have it that way as well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But also, even just the way that I personally absorb information, that's why I read in pages, not spreads. And I actually like it zoomed in like this, because I can break down a couple paragraphs at a time and my brain can absorb that more. When I pick up a giant 250 page book that I open up, you know, into a full 2-page thing, and it's 8.5 by 11, there's so much information that my brain is like trying to track all of it at once. I just want to be able to focus in on one little thing. And the format of this specifically, the A5, individual zines with nice size font, big margins, everything super well separated. I don't know, I felt like this was such an easy book to read and absorb. I just love it. I think it's extremely successful in that way.
I glided through this one because it's easy to intake.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a rant. Getting into chapter 2. So there are 5 zines in this, technically 6 with OSC. We are going to hit all of them, but we're going to breeze through some of the later ones. So I think 1 is going to be the one we spend the most time on. We'll spend an okay amount of time on 2, and then we're going to breeze through the rest. But I do want to hit all 5. So moving into Wulfwald characters, right? So real quick and dirty, because guess what? There's really aren't any rules here. You have attribute scores. There are 6 stats. Guess what? They're exactly what the fuck you think they are.
They're totally what you think they are.
Yeah. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, dex, charisma. That's it, right? You roll 3d6 for each of them. And once you have made those rolls, it's pretty obvious where you're going to fall. Wulfwald characters do have what's called a prime attribute, which is the most important attribute for that class. So if you have a class, it'll tell you in the class, and we'll go over that in a little bit, like which one is a prime attribute. So you can have, say your prime attribute for your character is dex, and your dex is your lowest thing. You can do that. You absolutely can pick one that is not the maximized thing. Absolutely. You're just not going to get the same kind of bonuses for what you're going to do for it, which makes sense for, you know, the class is what you do. So if what you're doing is supposed to be fast and you're a fast person, it makes sense that it blends together.
Completely agree.
And then clarify this with me. So it says prime attributes give a character a modifier depending on the prime attribute score. The other modifiers are not applied. So that means that when I go to my character that's dex based, I give my modifier, for all the things it tells me for prime attribute, but that means only one score. There's a modifier list underneath there. It says 3 to 5 is -2, 6 to 8 is -1, 9 to 12 is 0, 13 to 15 is +1, 16 to 18 is +2. So the only score that gets a modifier is your prime attribute, and that's it.
That is how I read that as well.
I like that. I'm a fan. Only having to track one modifier instead of 6 modifiers is so nice.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I am not always the biggest fan of like derived modifiers from stats. Even though I just said I'm playing an OSE thing and I play games like that. So it is nice to like really boil it down to like, here's the important one. And then as we go through, it's going to be like, here's where you apply it for each character. It is a very clean and easy. I mean, if you had the right group, you could pick this up and play it very quickly, Yeah.
Well, and not only that too, the modifier list is, for those that might have only played 5e, is a wider, smaller thing, right? So it goes from 3 to 5 is a -2, and 16 to 18 is a +2, which in D&D it goes to like in 5e it goes to -3 and +3. And I don't even know if it goes all the way down to 3. Doesn't it stop like after 8? It just like stops doing a thing. I don't fucking know anymore.
I mean, if you have a 20 in a stat in 5e, it's a +5.
It's a +5. Yeah, every 2 gives you +1, right? Yeah. As opposed to this one where it's more like every 3 gives you +1, and 9 to 12 is 0. So I like that. It's a smaller modifier. It's less of a. I mean, 5e is a power game for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, This isn't medieval superheroes, so
right. Yeah, even it's medieval Suicide Squad. We talked about this. Yeah. So next section is hit points. So hit points are an abstract measure of harm from combat, disease, etc. They're determined by hit dice. For those familiar with BX, you know what hit dice are, but hit dice are, if you know 5e, you know what hit dice are too. But you simply roll the number of hit dice for your class and level to determine your HP. And defeat doesn't automatically mean death. It depends on the situation and the foe. So if it's an intelligent foe, the GM might be like, well, you're captured instead. So hitting 0 isn't necessarily dead. Right, it means bad stuff, potentially fatal. The GM decides and everything like that.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool riff. I mean, this is like, I don't want to say it's like a more narratively driven game. That's not the term I'm looking for, but the context of the situations you get sent in, like obviously this game is, and we'll get into it, is built for like a campaign play of this like Wolfshead group. And so it does make a lot more sense for, instead of like 0 being instant death, like in a lot of old school games, it is for you to have these situations that like narratively might change, like the context of the situation changes what would make sense. And I like that that's baked into the rules and said out loud instead of just being like something left up to the GM for like, yeah, 0's dead no matter what, buddy. That's what the rules say. Fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you, buddy. I lost my phone. It's in here somewhere. I'll find it in a second. No, I just did a find my phone beep beep. Oh, I don't know. Somehow it landed on the floor over here. Must have thrown it.
Stop throwing stuff.
All right. That's what I figured. So anyway, next up, Gildor, magic power. So this explains the power table. It's interesting. I will say when we get to the magic section that this table is here instead of in the other one. But I mean, I don't mind it because if you got to magic, you would have seen this already. So, and I think a lot of the book does that, where like it doesn't necessarily re-explain, like it gives you the rule later, but it doesn't give you the kind of breakdown that's written here. So what I mean by that, for those listening, it's Gildor, I'll call it that with my terrible Gelder. We're gonna say Gelder. Okay. Yeah, that makes much more sense. The Gelder is a measure of magic power and skill. It's the sum of the caster's level plus their prime attribute. And this level applies to a number of things like saves and resisting and things like this. So what it says here is the Dwarg Fate Weaver is level plus wisdom modifier. The Elfseen Spell Singers is level plus charisma modifier. The Erd Erdward Shining Ones is level plus wisdom, and then the Ruddling Witches is level plus int. So you got dwarves and humans using wisdom, you got elves using charisma, and you got barbarian kind of people.
Yeah. The other people, humankins.
Using int. So 2 wisdom, 2 charisma, and an int. It's interesting. And it makes sense. I think charisma is great for elf. We'll get into that more in magic. Most other stuff is through singing. So I think charisma is a great application for that. And then we talked about, there's various circumstances for that. Well, there's a whole book on magic. We're not going to get too deep into that. And then there are 4 kindred. We can cruise through those a little bit. Basically, they're all 4 are humans. Some are just more magical, insular, or savage than others. How would you say this? The Erd word?
Sorry, I was looking up. There's a character in here that I'm pretty sure makes a th sound that we've been reading through, and I was right. It does make a th sound. It's looks like almost like a D with a little cross through the top part of the D. It's Wraithling or something like that. That's a th.
So it's Earthward, Erethrod, the humans, the regular ass fucking humans. They rule the land of Wulfwald and call themselves quote unquote men, and they call all other 3 Elpod foreigners. So big shock that the men call everyone that's not a man a foreigner.
It's like within that, the Outlanders, right, are also like humans, correct? So they're also
everyone is human. Everyone is human, but yes, they're closer to humans. But they're like they live more in like the moors and stuff. We'll get over it. Let's talk about it. And again, what I like about this the whole way through is it gives you the Anglo-Saxon name, but then it also gives you a name that's easier and you can use if you want. So first up is the elves, right? So elves are wild and savage forest folk, deep in ancient woodlands. They are slight and short. They are heads shorter than men. They have raven black hair, fine angular beard features, and bright gray eyes and nut brown skin. They shun things crafted by men. They dress in animal skins. It is taboo for them to use anything of metal. So they use weapons of stone, wood, flint, antler, things like that. Their longbows are stronger than men's longbows. And their main kind of thing is that they bond with ageless tree spirits, right? But if you're a PC, you are what's called, I want to say, a Fag, the Aphage, the Fae or the Doomed is what it's called. Your tree spirit died.
Got burnt down.
So you are doomed to die a mortal death. And you are not necessarily, you're not an outcast from the elves, but your grief and sorrow is so deep that you kind of drive yourself away from the tribe.
Yeah.
Which is
sad,
cool.
Sad emo elf self-exiles.
Yeah. I like that. I like that they're just, your true spirit died. Peace, a fan of that. The next up is the dwarves or the dwargas. Dwargas. There is a page here of a dwarf man, dwarf woman, and like the centipede down the middle. Again, everyone is human, right? But these are just a clan that are closer to dwarves. So they are mountain clans. They are a head shorter than men. They're broad, stout, and muscular. They're pale skinned with jet black hair and eyes, and they favor long forked beards. Little is known save the wealth of their minds and the brilliance of their metal craft. One man is allowed to set foot in the clan mountains, which is how they conduct their trade with the men. And many men, the tribes fight and die for the hills bordering the clan mountains and the rich trade that the land controls. So people will literally fight wars to be close to the mountains so they can be the one that gets to trade with the dwarves, which is cool. But the PCs, what's up?
I do like this part. I was going to say, I do like this part. The PCs for this group, you're disgraced, but like you'll never tell a man what you did to disgrace yourself.
Yeah. Exactly that. And then the one thing that is known is that to return home is certain death, usually by an unwarlike, shameful means like strangulation. So if you haven't guessed now, for the PCs, don't forget your Wolfsheads, your outcasts. For all 4 kindred, it's giving you what the kindred are like, and then what the PCs are like, because what is an outcast for each of these kindred, which is great. I love it. There is a thing when we get to the OSC book that I think is great, that is weird, that's not in this book. I don't know if we should talk about it at the end. Maybe we'll talk about it at the end of the kindred section. Next up is the Readthrough, the men of Earth, the quote-unquote the men. So these are tall and rangy with ruddy complexions, bright gray or blue eyes, straw-colored hair, both men and women favoring plates, like plates in their hair, not like dishes, you know. They're proud and warlike people, fearless, cunning, wise in both rule and counsel. That's what they fucking tell people, but actually they're treacherous, brutal, ruthlessly greedy, and they grasp for power. Sounds about fucking right to me. They claim descent from the gods so they can boast that they rule the earth, but they fucking don't, right? They're just like, we are descended from the gods, so it's ours, and the rest of you are foreigners in our land. Come on. There are 5 peoples within the men of Earth. They're the Geats, the Jotun, the Saxons, the Angles, and the Friska. And the PCs are Wolfsheads. Like that is the primary, quote unquote, primary society, right? So you are Wolfsheads within the society. So Thanes and all that kind of stuff are men of Earth, right? And then you get to the Wraithlings, the Outlanders, right? So this is of all of the foreigners, quote unquote, these are especially despised. They're tall and wiry with green eyes and coppery red or jet black hair.
I believe it is Wraithlings, though, by the way.
Yeah,
it's like, as we're going through, I'm actually scrolling down and double checking out the pronunciations.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. So especially, they lack in craft and art. Whatever they lack in craft and art, they make up for in bestial fierceness and ignoble treachery. They inhabit wild lands, the hills, moors, and marshes bordering the good, manly farmlands. And the PCs would be considered Mortoratas. They're blood feeders. Right? They escape from their homeland until they can gain enough power to return and take revenge on their enemies, reclaim their honor, or simply return without fear of reprisal for their crimes. So basically you get the manly men that are descended from gods and therefore claim right to rule everything and call everyone else fucking foreigners, even though I'm sure people were on that land before them. And then you got elves, dwarves, and what amounts to these like kind of Outlander, like quote unquote savages, kind of like the
Well, listen, man. All I had to say is, if God tells you that this piece of land belongs to you, you have the right to commit whatever war crimes you want to. So,
I mean, clearly, right? I mean, that's the way the world has worked so far. Okay, or has been allowed to by those in power. Let's say that. The Wulfwald classes. We're cruising through the book. We're about halfway through the first book because we're going to get to a lot of stuff.
We're making great time.
I personally think we are. I think we're chilling. So there's 3. There's 3 archetypes in the classes. You got warrior, skirmishers, or wizards. And in each of the kindred, you have 3 of those. So there are 12 total classes. So we're going to chunk through a huge section of this book because we're only going to talk about one of those. But there are 12 for each. I'll list them. But there are a couple other things that each class gets. Every class gets the criticals and fumbles. So on a nat 20 or a nat 1, you get a crit success or a crit fail. And it doesn't, modifiers don't matter, and wizards might flip or roll under spells. So for a lot of the saves and stuff, wizards, you're casting or saving by rolling under instead. And if you get a nat 20 or nat 1, it doesn't matter what your modifiers are. You fail or succeed. There's also a heroic effort. This is one that I think could have been worded a little differently.
I agree.
Says, Yeah. A feat or of arms or skills that automatically succeeds once per adventure. You can try heroic feats again, but they're subject to regular rolls. So I'm going to actually read it a little bit, and we can talk about how like it kind of is a little bit weird. So it says a heroic effort represents a feat of arms or special skill that members of a warrior class can succeed once per adventure. So auto succeed. All right. Note that this does not mean that they can only attempt the heroic effort once per adventure, or that only each class associated with a particular skill or feat can attempt it, but these other attempts will be in doubt and subject to whatever roll or check the referee deems necessary to succeed. The heroic effort will always succeed without a roll. So first of all, heroic effort is capitalized in one place. It's not capitalized in another. And basically it says like you can do it once auto succeeding, and you can try it as many times as you want, but like roll for it after that. That's fine. I get it. I feel like the wording is maybe just like a little bit confusing because it's like 8 lines to say that. You know?
Yeah, it's not as smooth as it could be.
Yeah. It's fine, but I will say I had to read it like I had to read it 2 or 3 times to be like, okay, no, this is what it's saying, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the classes.
Yeah. There are classes.
Yeah. So I will say right off the bat, there are no character sheets that I was able to find. Were you able to find a character sheet?
I did not see when I was going through this, but I did not look for a secondary source online. So
there should be a primary source.
I
think
agree.
that not having a character sheet is a huge miss. Partially because you can parse a lot of information from character sheets that to clarify some rules stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I
don't see why you wouldn't. When we get to the magic section, there are some things that basically equate to caster character sheets. So I don't understand why there aren't any here. But the breakdown of what a class looks like, then we'll pick one to go over. You can pick whichever one you want here. But basically, the way a character sheet goes over is there's lore at the top in a gray box, and then beneath that there is an explanation of the class. Beneath that is the stats, so level, HD, attack, save, AC, and initiative attacks. Right beneath that, you get your criticals, your fumbles, and your heroic effort. The heroic effort that you get per class. Right, so that's saying that this one's called True Strike. You can do True Strike as many times as you want, but once per adventure, you just auto succeed at it, which makes sense. Like that totally makes sense. Again,
yeah.
And then for every single page, let's see if it actually it should do this 2-page view. Yeah. So I'll 2-page view this. You get that on one page. On the opposite page, you get a huge piece of art for that, and then underneath that piece of art, you get your starting equipment. Great fucking spread for characters. I love it.
Very cool. I also love any game that lets me open the book and in one spread see all the information for a thing that I'm looking at, like characters.
Yeah, they're great. So the 12 characters under warriors, you get an elf wood guard, you get a dwarf shield bearer, you get men of earth shield maiden, and then you get the wraithling battle strong. Under skirmishers, you have an elf shooter, a dwarf death dealer, a man of earth spear terror, and a wraithling bowman. And under wizards, you get elf spell singer, dwarf fate weaver, men of earth shining one, and then a wraithling wicca or a wraithling witch. So which one do you want to look at? We'll go through one.
I don't know how to really. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
the first one's a good one. I think it's a good breakdown. The warriors are kind of a good mix.
I agree. Let's do one of the warriors. You pick. Don't make me pick. I don't know. One of them.
Okay.
Because you know me, I'm like, we should go over the dwarf, the rune fate weaver. You know.
I was definitely. Which one do you think that I would absolutely pick if I was picking it for me?
I don't know.
Okay, wait. Of the 12 class, fuck, absolutely. Who, if you had to pick one of the 12 classes, which one are you starting with?
Either that one or the Fate Weaver.
Yeah,
the weird.
Yeah, I would rock out a shining one, hardcore, or I would probably go with. I like the dwarf death dealer is really interesting too. But the elf wolf guard is pretty straightforward. So we'll run down through one wolf guard and then we'll skip all this. So it says, before your spirit triot died, before your spirit triot, there you go. Before your tree spirit died, you were one of the elven wood guard tasked with protecting the great forest. Now in your sorrow and doom, you roam the lands of men, doing the only thing that still makes sense to you, fighting and killing. So the wood guards rely on speed and finesse. The prime attribute is dexterity, which means that you add that to which they apply as an attack bonus and to AC. They gain a class bonus to AC and initiative, representing their special fighting style, and they're so fast that they make additional attacks each round. So in the stat block for it, it's at level 1, 2, and 3. At level 1, they have 1d6 HD. At 2, it's 46. At 3, it's 8d6. The attack is +1, +3, +6. The saves are 18, 15, 11. AC and initiative is +1, +2, +3, and the attacks is 2, 3, and 4 for each level. So at level 3, man, 4 attacks is crazy.
4 attacks in a round. You're fast as fuck. I'm fast as fuck, boy.
You're fast as fuck, boy. So the critical is a dazzling strike. On a crit, you dazzle your enemy and make another attack with a +3 to hit. The fumble is an impulsive maneuver. If you fumble, you acted so rashly, you maneuvered yourself into difficulty, and your opponent has advantage with a free attack. And then your heroic strike is the true strike. You summon up all your effort and deliver a blow so fast and accurate that it bypasses armor and attack an enemy as if they were unarmored. If they hit, they may choose where the blow lands. The head or heart is a killing blow. The leg or arms are mutilating blows. And the victim can save to resist death or mutilation. That's dope. Surpass all armor and go for a kill shot.
Can I ask a question about that? So a heroic effort is a thing that auto hits, right?
At least once per adventure.
Okay. So you would just roll damage for that, and you would, well, when it says ignore armor.
Yeah. So no armor soak, no nothing.
Armor is your AC though.
Yeah.
This is a BX, right? A clone, essentially, right? It's assuming that you're going to use like some BX rules, right? So armor isn't damage soak.
Well, no. Well, yeah. You're right.
I know. I read it last night. I was like, wait, if it's an auto hit, why would it matter? Because if I hit you with armor, isn't damage soak in this style of game, as far as I know.
Well, so here's the thing: the true strike auto succeeds once and then rolls every other time. So
this is just saying the next time you try to do it, you got to roll.
Yeah, and then when you roll, you don't have to roll to bypass the armor. Right. You would just roll against like a 9. They're unarmored, right?
So probably, let me see.
There's no reason to differentiate that way. Like clearly it auto hits, so you would go right to it. And for when you need it, these are the rules for.
If you roll for this ability, you ignore armor.
There's just no reason, I think, to separate it that way. Like it clearly, I think it's a little clunky with it being like, yeah, you auto hit, and then immediately being like, yeah, so ignore armor. It's like, but they auto hit. I think obviously when I sit down at the table, I would figure out to do exactly what you did. But it's weird to just not put like, oh yeah, if you roll for this, you just ignore armor. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely hear what you're saying. I think in the way that the rest of the book is written, in the context, especially with the amount of effort they put in writing above it, that you only do it once, but you can try again and you roll. I think there's not really a reason to take the time to differentiate for when you do and when you don't, because the assumption would be when you're rolling, this is it. But if not, you're just auto hitting and moving on. I hear what you're saying, though. I think within the context of the way the rest of it's written, where it's only explaining what you understand, it makes sense. But you're right. Like if this was more of like an intro book or needed a little bit more explanation, but the problem is, I think if you did that for this one, you'd have to do it for all 12 classes. You'd have to be like, if you did that, if you did that, if you did that. Or you could just do a little box here that says, this is for when you have to roll, not the auto success. But that is literally on the page above it.
Not for us to scroll through the rest of the heroic abilities that the warriors have, but I did try to look for another example of this in them, and I didn't really. All the other ones are like, they just do the thing, right? Or like once per adventure or whatever, and you can obviously rolling afterwards. It's the only one where the wording is just like, doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not trying to hang up the whole episode on that.
Yeah. But like, for example, like, you know, heroic effort for challenge for the shield maiden. They can challenge any foe to single combat, and they will accept. After all, no one wants to be someone. They must also accept any terms There's not really like there's not even a role. There's like nothing to succeed at. Like,
right?
How would you succeed or not succeed at that? You're right.
The thing is, for that one, I would just make a call on what you're gonna roll again afterwards to do so. You know, I mean, I would just figure it out in the moment. But that one's just, it's the only one that I'm like, you could have added the word if to just this one. You really didn't need to change anything else. So.
Well, I mean, when we go down to the Wraithling Battle Strong, theirs is with one wild swing of their two-handed weapon, they are able to hit all nearby foes, dealing 1d6 damage modifiers each. I guess you would auto hit every one of them, and then if you would have to roll to hit all of them after, you can just target all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I definitely think that it's written in such a way to assume that you understand, which I'm fine with. I like the idea of like writing that because you're not dumb, you know. But
I am dumb.
But valid point. We got there. So that is a heroic effort, and then again, full page piece of art, and then starting equipment. So it's written in such a way where you're gonna have to go to the equipment page and read what it is, because it says it's a hert sex gay bulge and 1d6 farthings.
Bulg.
Gay bulg. So anyway, so that's
also it's SEAX. The dagger is sax.
Sax. Okay, yeah.
Like a saxophone.
Oh, and they have the little sax in their hand. It's like a bladed little dagger thing, which is dope. So so that's a whole character. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. I do wish it was a fucking character sheet. I'm not gonna lie.
I wish there was a character sheet.
I guess this is the character sheet, and you can take notes on it. But like,
that's what I was thinking. You have a little piece of paper that you write, just like a blank sheet of paper. You keep in your spiral notebook.
You can print this out and flip it over and write on the back though your equipment and stuff like that. But like, I'm shocked that there's not even just a basic character sheet like Swivers. You know, Swivers was like super straightforward, mostly places to write notes. I'm shocked that there's not just like a nice branded Wulfwald character sheet. Anyway, so that is the classes. There are 12 of them. That is what one looks like. We are going to jump way down. There's only like 2-3 sections left in this book, and then we'll breeze through the rest of them. So we're going to go all the way down to Wulfwald gear, which will be a quick run through. So Wulfwald gear. So we start with wealth and money. So basically it says land is the greatest measure of wealth. There's a silver standard called the Silverpund, which is like the silver pound, usually in the form of an ingot worth, in a modern terms, about $7,000. So one ingot is worth $7,000. That's the core basis of all, everything. There is gold and stuff like that, but it's all based on a silver standard. I love silver standards. I fucking hate gold standards. 4 types of smaller coinage. There are shillings, silver pennies, farthings, and then there's like half pennies and stuff like that. It's what it sounds like. Yeah. There are, and there's a whole little breakdown of that, and it breaks it down on the page, how much each is worth. So 1 pound is 50 shillings, is 250 pennies, is 1,000, farthings? Yeah. So, resources and mundane equipment. So, there is no focus on resource management in this game. Claps in the chat. Yeah, it says that not in the way that Dungeon Delves and Wilderness campaigns might have. This doesn't. These are more like military missions. Gear, food, and lodging are provided by your lord, so you don't need to really worry about that stuff. And we've already talked about the fact that loot can be a thing, but it's not super big, and that the rewards you get for completing the mission are more important.
It's coming from the lord. Stay prayed up, y'all.
Yeah.
Do you know him quote when I say that?
Yeah. Stay prayed up.
Yeah. No. Mark Wahlberg.
Marky Mark. The technological level, right? The technological level in Wulfwald is equivalent to Northern European before the Roman conquest. Buildings are wooden, single story, and usually have thatched or peat roofs. Bridges are wooden, and other than a battering ram, there are no siege engines. Glass is rare, and cups and crockery are made of clay or wood. There are no stone buildings, concrete, or advanced engineering to speak of. But the people excel in metallurgy, the forging of iron and steel weapons and tools, and the more refined skills of the artisans that make exquisite jewelry. That's kind of what things are. So getting into weapons, there's a whole list. There's weapons for each kindred. So this first one here is the weapons of men. You get there's a chart here. It says melee weapon damage and value. And it gives you the Old English name for the knife, C-N-I-F-E.
Yeah.
1d3, it's worth 2 pennies. But below that, I do really like that they gave you all the Old English because, again, they say we give you the vocab if you want to use it. But beneath that, it gives a breakdown of what every weapon is. So the knife is an ordinary everyday tool most likely to be used for eating, hunting, and whittling than combat. So it's a pocket knife, right? And what we talked about before, the, what'd you call it, the sax?
Sax, yeah.
A large dagger designed for combat. Their distinctive shape is easily recognizable, possessing a single sharp edge and a slight point. The hilt is often made of horn or wood or combination. So breakdown of the damage, and damage goes from, it looks like D3 all the way up to, I believe there might be some D12s in here. And D3 obviously D6.5. We'll see. So there's a breakdown for every
might
weapon.
Be the highest.
Oh, we'll see. There are some in here like the Gebrad axe, which I assume is like it's a hand axe that do have variations for criticals. So with a crit, the axe cleaves a foe's skulls, and then it says like if you have a helmet, this happens. If you don't have a helmet, this happens. If you crit, that happens. So it's really cool. I really like that the weapons you carry are dictating some of your abilities that you can do with them, as opposed to you personally. It's that's so much cleaner than having to like pick and like anytime you have a weapon you do that. No, just this one weapon gets this one extra thing, and I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely adding on to your not necessarily class through equipment, because there are classes in this, although the classes are incredibly stripped down and they're very lightweight, but this is definitely adding those extra bits on, and they feel a little bit easier to manage because they're like attached to a weapon and not like a million abilities my character has.
Exactly.
I don't know why. It's just my brain.
I like it. I prefer that. I think Cobalt Press, when I was actually still doing 5e stuff, they did a really good job of adding like weapon feats in that were per weapon, not per like feat you had to eventually get. And I really, really like that. I thought that was a much better way of handling it. Ranged weapons for peoples. I did say off to the side here in my notes that they changed the order of the kindred for some reason. I think in most of the time it's been like elf, dwarf, man, wraithling. And this one they went like man, and then I think it goes to like dwarf or whatever. Not that it fucking matters. You're reading it's a man, wraithling, elf, dwarf. Not that it fucking matters. You're gonna read it all kind of in order anyway. But it's interesting that they like flip the order a couple of times. I assume maybe by like page, like what fit on the pages. Weapons for wraithlings that also only go up to D10. You get ranged weapons for wraithlings. Weapons for the elves. Still only go to D10, and then ranged weapons, which is like one bow, and then weapons for the dwarves. The men, quote unquote men, have the biggest array of weapons, and then it kind of like goes down from there. Like the weapons for the dwarves there's 3 of them, and then they have like 2 ranged weapons, and that's it.
But you get those cool dragon eggs.
Yeah, the dragon eggs are pretty dope. I do want to talk about the dragon eggs a little bit. So for the most part, they don't go too in depth for each of the ones. I will say there are no lore bits kind of for the men and the wraithlings, but in the elf and the dwarf section there are little kind of like lore bit at the top. There's like a little paragraph. It says, we already talked about the elves, strong taboos against metal. And the dwarves, it talks about kind of the first kind of part where it really digs into their worship of dragons, which we'll get into a little bit more in the Kinch. They worship dragons. They use draconic imagery on everything. So all the weapons are like that. And all the weapons are incredibly balanced and sharp. And non-dwarves find them difficult to use. So you get a -1 to hit. But the sharpness of their blades grants a +2 to hit. Ooh. So if you're a dwarf, you get a +2. If you're anybody else, you get a +1 basically, because you get a -1 before you get a +2. So that's pretty cool. The dragon eggs that Hunter had talked about, which are interesting, are the ultimate dwarg death dealer weapon. Right? They're basically 6-pack of eggs that death dealers carry with them that are filled with alchemical recipes. They're basically like raven eggs that have been hollowed out and filled with chemicals.
Yeah. Little bomb.
Yeah. Little bombs. So there are strong taboos about how they're used and even how they look. So they're painted and filled with specific things and then sealed. So they carry 6 of them. There are 3 gray ones, 2 green ones, and a black one. The gray ones, when shattered, create a thick gray smoke. So it's basically a smoke bomb. It obscures vision. The green one shatters and let loose a cloud of noxious gas that blinds and chokes everybody in a 30-foot cloud. And then the black one releases black spores in a cloud, and it's full of toxins. And anyone caught within a 10-foot radius must save or die.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I think the Death Dealer starts with 3 eggs. You can carry a max of 6.
But they start with 3?
Yeah. And I think the taboos surrounding them are like they have to follow the Geneva Convention, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
No schools or hospitals.
Everybody does, right?
Yeah, everyone does. Dude.
Everyone does that. Gotta love that white phosphorus egg, you know? So then we get to armor and stuff, and we're basically done with book 1. So the interesting thing about armor, what's listed here with no explanation, which again is the way the entire book is written. There's a list of the from unarmored all the way up to what basically is like full plate armor. And there is in parentheses, there's outside of parentheses or brackets and inside brackets. And the out brackets are ascending armor and the in brackets are descending armor. So it goes 9 up to +7. And then the unarmored Thaco kind of descending goes from 10 to -7. So it goes 10 and then -1, -2, -3, -4, -6, -7, -7. And then there's a breakdown of what all of the...
bro.
Yeah, there's a breakdown of what all the armor are. And then we get to... And maybe I'm a fucking dumbass. I did pull out my BX stuff. I did pull out some old editions. I did Google armor to make sure I'm not a fucking idiot. I think these are backwards. So we get to helmets and shields. So helmets are listed and shields are listed. But the outside bracket number is now a minus... and the inside bracket number is now a plus, which doesn't make sense to me because if I add a helmet, right, I'm using ascending armor outside. So it's like, say that I have the base, like deer hide is +1. And then I add a helmet, so then I'm -1 off my AC. That doesn't make sense. I should +1 to my AC if we're ascending again, right?
Right.
And then with the shield, same thing. They kind of flipped. The outer brackets are minus, but with Thaco, it's descending. So the more I have, the lower the number should be. So in the brackets, it's now +1. So you'd be -1, but now +1. So you'd basically be unarmored if you had deer hide plus a helmet. So I think this is wrong. I think they flipped this incorrectly.
I think you're right.
If it's following the same path as what's directly above it, which is my assumption that they should be. So I think that the AC of helmets and shields is flipped. So if you're reading this, I would suggest, unless I'm completely wrong and someone can tell me to go fuck myself, I believe that the bracket, what's in and outside of the bracket for the AC of helmets and shields is incorrectly flipped. But you have them. You have shields and you have helmets and stuff like that. So I really like that. So the max kind of armor, I guess you could possibly get, is the full suit of armor, right? Mm-hmm. And then you could throw on the war helm. So you're at +7. I'm talking about ascending, +7, and then +2. So you're at +9 armor. And then throw on the Dwarger's Dragon Scale Shield at a +4. So you're at a nice solid +13 armor. You probably can't move. You're basically
you're
a tank
so heavy
at that
you're
point.
Stuck in one place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, they can't break your armor.
Yeah. You're a space marine without the nuclear fusion battery pack, so you're stuck. But listen, you're a turtle. You're turtling. So that's great. And then that's pretty much the game for book 1. You get Appendix A is an entire list of Anglo-Saxon names, which is cool. Appendix B is the Old English pronunciation notes we talked about before. And then Appendix C is a table for old school essentials and some other games. So you get whole class tables for level, HD, Thaco, saves, AC, and initiative attacks for all 12 classes, which is dope. And then some empty pages. There is, and then, so let's just jump over to the old school zine now. We'll knock that off of our list.
Oh, you want to do it now?
Yeah,
Fuck it, we'll do it
because
live.
there's like nothing I really want to talk about. There's only one thing I want to talk, because it's basically everything we just talked about, but for OSE. Except, this is a PDF. This is the PDF only. It says in the box set you'll get everything in the box, but then a PDF version of the game for OSE, which is cool. It only comes in a spreads version. There's no page versions.
Yeah, I was interested about that. Of everything, it's the only one that's in spreads.
And it's probably, it's just a PDF only. Maybe it's for print purposes or something. I don't know. But it's all exactly the same, except there's an extra appendix in here that I think is amazing, and I don't understand why it's not in the other book. So this one is called...
Yeah.
This is... I'm going to zoom in. Let's zoom in. Oop, 400 is too much. Oop, 10 is too little. Let's zoom to 150. So there's a whole section here on why are you a wolf's head, right? And it literally breaks down. For elves, there is the death of the tree. For the dwarves, it's truth or love. It literally tells you the two ways that you're outcast. In the first book, it says no one's ever going to know, but then it breaks down the two ways here. For the skin, like for the men, for the necromancer dudes, give me 1 second.
Skin lack?
There we go.
Skin lack?
Yeah, for the skin lack. It talks about the path to necromancy, but then it also has a whole breakdown of like 1d6 for the men of the earth, for like what you could have done. And then for the wraithlings, it's a 1d6 for what you could have done. It's a great fucking spread that literally is basically roll tables or explanations for why you are a wolf's head, but it is only in the OSE zine. My only thought, my only possible explanation for this is maybe they wrote this after they had already gone to print with the other stuff. Because my God, this should be in the first one. And there's even room for there's even room for it, because if you go to, I guess the last page is empty. The last 2 pages in the book are blank. And that's, for anyone that doesn't understand why there's blank pages in books have to be written in multiples of 4. Oh no, there's not. It's just the back cover. But honestly, throw that shit in there for the next one. Or make it, I guess if you buy any part of it, it's readily available. But that is a huge thing that if you do, that you could easily miss. Be like, I don't really need the OSE version yet, but please go read Appendix C. I think it is an amazing resource of information for character creation that really explains why you are. It's literally called like, why are you a wolf's head or whatever. So like, I'm in the wrong one. Appendix C of the OSE version. Why are you a wolf's head? Fantastic, really great. Read it, it's cool.
I do like the elf one. Is just like, the other elves, they're just not comfortable being around a treeless motherfucker,
Yeah, and you're such a sad boy. That's just it. So we're gonna run through I think we're making good time. We're at like an hour and 20 minutes, and we have 4 more books to cover, but we're gonna cruise through them pretty quickly. We can talk about how much we want to actually go over magic. I can run through this super fast if we want. So this is a cover for book 2, Magic. It's got a different cover. It's got, like, I believe, like a cauldron in the front, and then there's a skull and the head of a blade, and then a really interesting design on the top of it. It says volume 2 of 5 booklets. It says Magic. So do you want me to cruise through Magic? Do you want to cruise through Magic? Is there parts of Magic that you...
I will say that the immediate first Magic class, the Dwargus
Fate Weaver. Okay, well then let's cruise to that, and we'll talk about that one a little bit more, and then just run through the other one. So basically, Wulfwald Magic, it says that magic is rare and dangerous, something to be feared. Magic users are unwelcome in any village or mead hall. They're feared by superstitious peasants, mistrusted by warriors, and only the power of the lord they serve will protect them. But for sorcerers, even that may not be enough. Players who choose to play casters in Wulfwald need to be cautious around NPCs, and it can expect a cold response from most. It talks about the Gilder, which it gives like a quick, like 1 or 2 lines of, again, it's equal to level plus primary stat, but it doesn't have that table like was in character 1. I honestly think you could just flip those 2, because no, here's the thing. You already saw it in the other one. This is explaining magic, not how to make a character. So I think this is cool. It tells you it's and it gives you like why you're going to use it. It applies to all saves against magic and some other circumstances. And then we get to the rune fate weaving. In order for this to work, the dwarves contemplate the true meaning of runes and then use the understanding of those runes to change fate and shape reality. And the dwarves know that men who use runes stole them from the dwarves, but dwarves kind of don't really care because they stole them from dragons. So that's kind of what it is. There are 24 runes in 3 sets called eights. 3 sets of 8 called eights. There are families. There's first, second, and third 8. And then the level of the word webbers, basically the fate weavers, dictates the maximum number of runes they can use in combination, and also contributes to their rune casting roll. And once a fate weaver has used a rune, they cannot use it again until they've used all their other runes. And then each rune has a sphere of influence, and some runes can be reversed or cast in different ways. So before I get into like how it all works and stuff, like what drew you specifically to the rune magic?
Oh, I love the open interpretation of it. Like the runes all have like a kind of group of things that they symbolize, and you can hit the reverse with them too, so they could be opposite. Or I think there's one other thing that's not quite reverse, but I just like the ability for your magic to be so open format, you know, that you can like, I'm using the thorn. I think the example is in one of these somewhere is the thorn rune to put up a wall of thorns to block the enemies. But just being like, you have a word, how do you use that word?
Yeah. Big fan of that. You know what this reminds me of? What? Completely. This is Acid Mage's magic. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably why I like it, because you have a word that describes a baseline. How do you use that word as like to expand upon, you know?
Yeah, and then you can use the inverse, which Acid Mages does. It doesn't have specifically like 12 symbols, and you can like it has like the push and pull or whatever, you know?
There are 8 opposing. There
you go. Yeah. When as soon as I saw the reverse one, I was like, oh, this sounds so much like Acid Mages. But yeah, you're right. The openness of it is cool.
I also like that as you grow, you can add more runes together to create like a whole new different effect. And it's really open to interpretation. Very open format, and you're very imaginative. And if you feel boxed in when you play a caster that you're like, I have fucking fireball, and that's the spell. This is not that. And I love that.
No. Yeah, it's really great. Well, like you said, it says level dictates maximum number of runes that can be used in combination. So by level 3, you can actually put 3 runes together to put like, you know, whichever 3 and interpret the 3 together to create a thing, which is so interesting. So interesting. Like this is definitely for people that like that very abstract magic. It's cool. So you have to do a rune casting roll. It's 1d20 roll under with wisdom plus any penalties. It works or it fails. That's it. 3 levels are decided by the GM. The levels of difficulty for how they're going to use it, that's determined by the GM, but the player decides how they're going to be used. Saving throws are a thing, and then there is a whole the 3 uses of the runes. There are 3 different ways they can be used. There's casting, where you contemplate a rune for an hour. Any less takes a penalty, but then you can just do the thing that you want with the rune. There is warding and binding, where you place a rune on something, you inscribe it on something. It takes 4 hours, and a casting roll you make is when it's activated. So that's kind of what you talked about with the thorn bridge. You can attack a thorn bridge onto something. When they run over it, it'll pop up, and that's when you make your casting roll to determine whether it works or not. And then the last thing is inscription, and that is permanent. It's permanent. It takes a day to contemplate and a day to perform. Requires a casting roll, and then that rune is now permanently forsaken. It's gone from your rune list, and the only way to get it back is to like permanently destroy, burn, just like absolutely get rid of whatever you put it on. So if you put that inscription on a rock, you have to crush the rock, burn the rock, spread the ashes, you know what I mean, throw it in the river, do whatever, and then you'll get access to that rune back. Like I said, saving throws, they're a thing, they exist. And then there's a whole section here on the runes and their meanings. So there's literally breaking down all 24 runes by 8. just a couple right off the top. There's cattle, strength, sharp, mouth, road, torch, gift, hail, need, spear. So lots of really interesting stuff. And then for each one, do you want to pick one rune and just talk about like?
That's yeah. Let's talk about cattle.
Okay.
It's an interesting one.
All right. Cattle. Theo.
It's also the first one. So
yeah.
So yeah, feel cattle. It relates to wealth, cattle, herds, property, winning land, possessions, luck, abundance, energy, protecting wealth. And then the reverse on it is greed, cowardice, stupidity, poverty, avarice, enmity over money. So wealth, greed, ownership, like the ability to influence these things, all in this room. I think it's a really interesting one.
Yeah. And I like that. So basically, for those that can't see, there's a picture of the actual room. And then it says Fio cattle. And then it says relates to everything he said in reverse, everything he said for all 24. For all 24. The world building in this section, just by explaining what the runes like are relating to and reverse to, fantastic. Really, really love it a lot. Once again, book 2 is not hyperlinked or bookmarked, so we're going to do a lot of scrolling. So if you don't like scrolling, that sucks for you. Quick run through of the elf spell singer. So basically they use chants and singing to both gain and use magic. Each song takes 1 round or a minute out of combat. The magic effect, it takes effect in the next round, except glamour, which starts to work as soon as a victim hears it. And in order to use it, they have to be able to sing. So if your tongue is cut out or you can't breathe or anything like that, you can't use fucking magic, right?
Well, if you're just a bad singer.
I mean, you can still use magic. People just won't like the way it sounds, I guess. My assumption is, well, everybody can sing, right?
Everyone has a song in their heart, Ryan.
Yeah. No, everyone can sing. You just have to learn pitches and all that kind of shit and the sound that works for you. Yeah. Do we want to harmonize? Wait, come on. Okay, all right. Anyway, so elf spell singing. Okay, yeah. So there's 3 forms. There's shape-shifting, where you have to actually coax animals to you, have them teach you their secrets, and then you can turn into them. And you can shapeshift for Gelder times for Gelder hours, and you select a Gelder bonus number of animals forms per level. The next is Glamour. It's used to manipulate people. Victims can save to resist, but can't attempt again for 1d3 days if you fail to glamour somebody, or I guess if you do. And then you can glamour a number of people and times per level. And then the victim, after your glamour, can try to save to remember what happened while they were glamored. The last one is the Songs of the Forest. You're basically singing at trees, and the trees teach you their songs, right? And at each level, you learn a Gelder number of songs that can be sung once per day, but you don't pick them. The GM rolls because the trees pick the song that they teach you. It's interesting, if the GM ever rolls a song twice, you can choose to either have them roll again, or if you already have it and they roll it again, you can then sing that song twice a day if you want, which is cool. Yeah. And then there's a breakdown of every song. It's a D10 list of songs. So Song of Memories, Forest of Fear, Cloak of Leaves, Trial of the Tree. So it's a breakdown of all of those, and it gives you all of them in order here. So this is as much a magic
the Song
book.
of Storm, the Song of Time, Princess Zelda's Lullaby.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Link's Awakening. So the Forbidden Path of the Skinlica. This is the necromancy of the Shining Ones. It is most reviled, feared, and taboo sorcery in Wulfwald. Players must roll 1d20 under the character's charisma to avoid an overly negative reaction from NPCs. So once they learn that you're a necromancer, you have to roll for them not to freak the fuck out on you.
No, it's cool, dude. Don't worry. The whole corpse thing, it's not even like my main thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, reduce, reuse, recycle. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
Well, they weren't using their corpse anymore, you know?
No. Well, yeah. So there are 3 realms of power, and all require you to call a phantom from the underworld and trap it in your body and use its power with a Calling the Dead roll. Obviously, this is my shit. This is so my shit. It's crazy, right? I'm an edgelord trash person.
That is true.
And that's fine by me.
I've been saying it for years.
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. I don't hide it. Listen, I'm stunted. So we'll go over all three of those power types in a bit. But part of that, there is taint and corruption that comes from this as well. So something that's different from the other forms of magic. So anytime that you attempt to summon a phantom, whether you're successful or not, you accrue a point of taint. And if you ever roll under your current taint, you gain corruption. Bro, grow up. And if you're if the taint ever reaches 20, you take 2 rolls on the table before it resets to 0, because after you get corruption, you reset to 0. But if you ever hit 20, you do 2 and then reset it to 0. So there's a crazy amount of corruption you can get here. Spectral sinews, White's Hand. They're basically all minuses to stats. So Spectral Sinews is a permanent -1 to your strength. Spectral Chill is a permanent -1 to your con. And they're cumulative. So if you roll the same thing multiple times, if you get Spectral Sinew 3 times, that's -3 to strength. That's crazy.
It's brutal. I mean, the effects you do get for this one, through briefly reading through them previously, I'm like, oh, you get some pretty cool stuff, though.
Yeah, they're pretty tight. Yeah, they're tight. There is definitely fatigue, though. So you do get fatigued as part of your casting, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So the use of the powers can cause you to be fatigued. If your fatigue exceeds your current HP, you collapse and lose 1 HP permanently. You can recover 1 fatigue per turn as long as you do nothing more strenuous than walking. So fatigue can come on quickly and then leave quickly, but if it stacks too high, if it ever gets higher than your current HP, you permanently lose an HP. I love that. I don't know why it's so clean and interesting. It's just like, I don't know. I could describe it to you in a way that we have a CPR machine, but that wouldn't make sense to anyone that doesn't use like the specific type of monitor that we use when we're doing CPR on a person. But like, you basically can like build up and build up and build up. And I love the idea that if you ever build up enough to hit that HP, even though it like fades really quickly, you just collapse and lose 1 permanently and have to do it all over and over again. I don't know. It's super clean and super interesting and super vibey. I don't know why I love this rule so much. It's really great. So 3 types of necromancer powers. You got the Call of Fear. And this is when you summon a hideous phantom that takes on its you take on its ghastly form and appear to your enemies as a half-rotted specter that shines with dazzling eldritch light. And that sucks for you.
I mean, I love that you don't summon like a specter to attack. You take on you do summon a specter, but you take on its like apparition,
you take on the form.
You know?
Yeah. We're not going to go over fatigue for every one of them, but we'll go over it for this first one. So the power can be used instantly as long as you have a coin stained with the blood of a traitor in one hand and a Rowan wand in the other. The power costs 1 taint and 1 fatigue, plus an additional point of fatigue for each round it is maintained. And it can be maintained for Gelder number of rounds. So if your HP gets low, you automatically start with a point of taint and a point of fatigue, and then for every round it builds on that fatigue. So yeah. And you can protect your allies by giving them an amulet made from the finger bones of innocent children.
Very good. Yeah, don't forget
Paolo,
your Rowan wand. Don't forget to bleed on your Rowan wand sometime too.
Yeah, don't forget your finger bones of innocent children.
Yeah.
Don't forget those guys. I'm gonna get all ghastly.
I love that. Sometimes I feel like, I love necromancy. I love proxy fighting and a lot of stuff because I love minions and stuff. But so a lot of times necromancy doesn't always feel as dark as it really is. This one does. They're really like, no, it's fucked up.
Yeah, this shit's fucked up. Call of the Underworld. So the most potent of the 3 powers, you call an evil and destructive phantom from the underworld and take on its form to use its powers to smite enemies. So you actually, the phantom summoned to fight has a number of HD and powers equal to Gelder with base. So you summon it in and then are using it to fight with. So it's like a force within you. Mm-hmm. On the first round, to summon this thing, you use a knife that has pierced the heart of an adulterer. you cut yourself, dripping the blood onto your Rowan wand.
That's where this is. Okay.
There you go. And then next round, you do your roll to call the dead to take the form of the phantom. So you have to do a whole round where you're bleeding yourself with a knife that pierced the heart of an adulterer. Yeah. And there are 8 different phantoms that you can summon into yourself. Bone Shard, Shredder, Eldritch Lightning, Ghostly Glide, Funeral Pyre, Skeletal Skin, Gravebound, Shining Shade, and Death's Touch. So Bone Shard Shredder, for example, it bestows the gift of deadly bone claws, granting +1 to hit and 1d6 +2 damage. For each additional time this power is rolled, increase the bonus to hit by 1 and damage by +2.
Boy, that can get pretty beefy pretty quick.
Yeah. But the Taint and Fatigue incurred is equal to the number of powers of the Phantom. Each Phantom's powers are determined by rolling 1d8 per power. So, like, you can get fatigue and stuff super fast with this one. And then the final super fucked up one, and then there's a breakdown of all 8 of those. The final super fucked up one is called the Call of Kinship. It appears as the shade of a dead friend or family member of the victim, and it requires the skull of a murderer to be hidden where it can see the victim for a day, so the malign phantoms of the underworld can observe the victim and take on the form of their dead relatives.
Isn't so unbelievably evil? Like, I often play as necromancer because I'm like, it's not really that evil in practice, but this one's like, oh, this is straight up fucked up evil shit, bro.
Yeah.
Gear up. Everyone hates you.
Yeah. All of these are super fucked up and evil, and I fucking love Paolo. Like, yeah. I love, if you've read any of the previous like magic stuff, there's some fucked up shit in there, and I really, really enjoy it. The last part of this is creating Orknas. Basically, these are, once you've reached level 3 of the necromancer powers, you can create undead warriors by replacing a vital part of a fresh corpse, like the eyes or heart or something, with something vile like maggots or a nest of rats or something, and then they can rise up and serve you until they're slain, or you get them to go back to true death with a drop of blood spilled onto your ruin wand. Yeah. So for each one created, you lose 3 points of charisma. Yeah. And you can create as many as you want until your charisma is reduced to 3. Yeah. And you only get your charisma. Yeah. You only get your charisma back when they die, when they're true dead. Right. But charisma isn't your casting. So just fucking do it. But that just means that everyone can see, like, your rolls for NPCs and shit are super low and stuff like that.
Wait, is charisma not the casting for,
No, I'm pretty sure that the only charisma one was the Spellsinger.
You're right. Yes, you're right. No, you're totally correct.
Yeah. Real quick though, the witchcraft, Wicca craft. So these are the Wraithling witches.
Well, hold on. That's a C after an I, which implies that's pronounced by CH by church. Although I would say that's definitely Wicca. But per the pronunciation guide, a C after an I or E is a CH. So, whatever.
Yeah. So witchcraft.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, witchcraft. So Wraithling witches, they learn the craft slowly and carefully on the tutelage of tribes crones, but some of the young ones run away and learn from foul spawn familiars. So that's what we talked about here.
Cool.
There's you can learn as many. So learning the craft and paying the price. There's always a price for learning these kind of crafts. So you can learn as many elements as you want, but you sacrifice a part of your spirit for each, with permanent losses of attributes and HP. So each time a witch learns an element of craft, including at generation, the referee rolls 1d6 and permanently reduces the rolled attribute by 1. So strength, wisdom, constitution, wisdom, dex, and hit points. So it's not the 6 that you have, it's the 6 listed here, which list wisdom twice. Yeah, and your HP.
Yeah, it definitely can be pretty brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get into the familiars, which is how you do stuff. So the familiars take on the form of small animals associated with death, the night, or carrion, like crows, ravens, owls, lizards, things like that. And there are 9 elements to the craft. Maybe we'll pick one, but they are the 9-herb charm, curses, the green candle, scrying, amulet crafting, potions, poisons, venoms, and the poppet and the thorn. We're actually not going to go over those. Buy the fucking book. We're going to go a little faster here. The Wulfwald magic items. So basically, I really like this part. So Paolo wrote that they're presented in the form of fairy tales, folklore, and myths, and the GMs are encouraged to create their own magic items with stories and histories unique to their own tables and campaigns. So when you go through a magic item, it literally is like a multi-page folklore story of why that item is and what it is, and then gives you a little bit of things like its current location, the owner, things like that. Really, really, really interesting way to do magic items. And then the last section is again, it would be great if this was hyperlinked. Is the gods and religions of Wulfwald. So there is no priest class in the game, right? But there are priests that exist in the world, and there's this weird. This is another section that's written in a way that like is slightly confusing to me. So it says there are no clerics, blah blah. In other words, there are no gods in Wulfwald the RPG, but in Wulfwald the setting, not only the gods are real. I think that's a typo there. Not only are the gods real, but everyone believes in them. The gods may not exist, but the priesthood does, and the power of the wheel is real enough. It contradicts itself like 3 times in there.
I'm so confused by that. I'm gonna be honest. Actually, the moment when I was reading this, I saw clerics and priests. I was like, cool, I'm good on this. So I actually didn't read this paragraph.
Yeah. So this doesn't make, in these 2 lines, I think this don't make sense. So again, there are no gods in Wulfwald the RPG, which means, I assume that means that you're not worshiping anybody or whatever, kind of whatever. But in Wulfwald the setting, not only the gods are real. I think of the typo. Not only are the gods real, so they are real, but everyone believes in them. And then the very next line says the gods may not exist, but the priesthood does. Are there real gods or not?
I have no idea.
Yeah, there's some clarification that needs to be done there, and the typo in that line 5 right there. Not only the gods are real. I think it's supposed to be not only are the gods real.
Not only are the gods real. Yeah.
Regardless, the people believe in them and they fear and revere them. And there's a breakdown of all of them. So basically, the religions of the men, there was the oldest god, which is the worship of the earth dragon, which we'll go over a little bit later. And that's Earthdrika. And then that was replaced by worship of the elder gods, which are like the sun and moon. And yeah, exactly. And then that was replaced by religion of the new gods, which is like Woden and Frigga and things like that. Things that sound a little bit more Nordic, right? Because the men feel very Nordic in this.
Woden is the Germanic for Odin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they're tall, blonde, and you have plaited hair. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Who could it be?
Yeah, who could it be? The religion of the Wraithlings, it says, is tribe to tribe. They have their own little things that they worship. Sun gods, war gods, things like that. Horn gods of the forest. I fuck with Wraithlings so hard. I'm sad that the necromancers are technically, I think, are the casters for the men, instead of the casters for the Wraithlings, because the witches are for Wraithlings. Yeah. And then the religion of the dwarves is interesting, because they worship the earth dragon Earthdrika still, right? But she is real and exists, and they keep her imprisoned in the mountain and torture her so that she creates fire to heat their forges and farm her eggs and unborn offspring to create their arms, armor, and magics. So they literally they have their god captured and literally steal her eggs and torture her and make her breathe fire to do their bidding and shit.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. Religion of the elves, their ancestor worship. Each tree in the forest contains the spirit of an ancestor, and every living elf is joined to the spirit of a tree. And that's pretty much their shit. Then there's magic tables here that really do amount to magic character sheets. Like, they fucking do. So when you look at the Dwarnic rune fate weaving, you literally can mark off like what you've learned, what you've cast, how you've cast it. It's got an explanation. It's got the names of all of the runes on it. It even has a space to put your rune casting, like number, like the number for rune casting on it. When you go to the spell singing, it literally has like check boxes for what shape-shifting
really
things you
cool.
have. It's dope as fuck. These are casting character sheets. Give me one of these for the classes. It's this easy. I want Wulfwald character sheets. And it even gives you like what you can do for glamour, what songs you have checked. It has like 2 little boxes in case you've learned it twice. And then for the forbidden paths, it has a part to mark down how much taint you have, how much fatigue you have, what you're calling the dead number is, what corruptions you have. They're literally character sheets for casters, and the witches have one too. There's a whole magical index, which is interesting because it actually is hyperlinked, but only the numbers are hyperlinked. So I skipped it. I skipped over it a couple of times because only the numbers, not the words, are hyperlinked, which is fine. I'd rather have some than none. But it's all the way in the back of the book, but it's an index. It's not the table of contents in the beginning. Please hyperlink the table of contents. If you're going to hyperlink the index, which is literally like 100 fucking things, why not hyperlink the 7 things at the front of the index? That it makes no fucking sense.
I'll get even more nitpicky. If you're going to hyperlink the numbers in your index, just do the whole line.
Just do the whole line? Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that is Magic. We're going to cruise through the next 3. I think we're cruising really well. We did that whole one in like 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one's the longest one. I mean, because campaign, we're probably not going to deep dive all campaigns.
I have like this much. much to say about it, yeah. So this is the cover of Campaigns. It's got a building with flame coming out from it. It's got a crown with some spears going through. It says Campaigns on it.
I do like the cover on this one.
Yeah, the cover on all of them are so sick.
Yeah, I don't know why, but this actually might be my favorite cover.
Ooh.
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my favorite is the 3 wolves on the front of the book.
The 3 wolf ones. I feel like that's everyone's first choice for their favorite. I'm trying to be eclectic with my choice. I'm trying to be individual. You know? Are
you? Well, then mine's probably the Magic one. Then, to be quite honest. Oh, I don't know. The Monsters one kind of fucks. Yeah, mine's probably the Magic one then. So anyway, that's Campaigns. So let's cruise through Campaigns real quick. So once again, not hyperlinked. You get some sections. You get the Kingdoms of Wulfwald and Other Lands, Wulfwald Society, and Write Your Wulfwald. And then you get a bunch of appendices, which are optional rules. The Rose War of Wigwill, which is like an adventure. Some stuff about warbands. One of your freedmen is, and Wulfwald's Who's Who. So this is kind of a little gazetteer explainer. So talking about the Wulfwald campaign. Basically, it says... The world of Wulfwald is a world where the bond of warband, the oath of loyalty between warrior and king, your word, your honor, and your status mean everything. So it's just it's a breakdown of kind of the world and how it works. There's a huge map here. I'll open the whole map in a little bit. Actually, let me just open the map as a PDF so we can look at it sideways real quick. Open, bitch. There you go. So that's the entire map. It's great. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous map.
Really nice map.
Yeah. It's really the Draken caves, like the Eastlands, like the Moor Highlands. It's so detailed. And clearly, like, it gets, I mean, it's okay, so it's not that but it is very highly detailed. You can get deep in this map. I'm at 400% right now, and it's very clear. So you can get up in Woden's Wound. So yeah. So campaign 3. So the Kingdom of Wulfwald and Other Lands. So the world of Wulfwald. Oh, I did write down a little breakdown for this. The world of Wulfwald is a world where the bond of warband, oath, and loyalty between warrior and king, your word, your honor, and your status mean everything. It is a world where family, community, and the king's laws are a shield against misfortune and the terror of the unknown. Unfortunately for the player characters, the world of Wulfwald is one which they have none of these things. Yeah. And then you get what amounts to the Gazetteer. This is a list of the lands, ruler, banner, some lore, a D12 encounter table, and some other table sometimes. So looking at this first one, Eastland 6, right? The ruler, King Bornhald. The banner, a black raven on a blood red background. Looks dope. There's a bunch of, there's the rest of that page is all lore about that land. And then beneath that, it says encounters in Eastland. It's a 2d6 encounter table. which means, you know, that what a 2d6 means. It means that the ones in the middle are the ones that are most likely to happen. That's how 2d6 works. And that's a whole section. So it goes through a whole big chunk of that. The Midlands, Southland, Westland, middle. So north, south, east, west, and middle. Very, very. What's great is that this is exactly how people would call them.
I was gonna say that's totally how humans name things.
Yeah.
You know,
what is the gate to the south called? Oh, that's Southgate. Like, come on.
Hey, you know that canyon's like it's really big and grand. We'll call it the Grand Canyon. You know.
Yeah, exactly. People that take too much time to name shit some fancy thing, it's not. That's not how things work.
Yeah.
What is that river to the east called? Oh, that's East River. Like, come on. Like, okay, Wulfwald Society. Where did that start? Here we go. Wulfwald Society. So, this is a breakdown of technology and population size. It is a list of the Wulfwald social order, which is right here. Starts at the king and goes all the way down to the Wolfsheads. And there's a breakdown of all of that, from the king to the queen, to the princes, to the sages and everything, ealdormans, thanes, all that. Cool breakdown. There's a section here about the division of land. It basically says like land is main source of wealth and things like that. So how is land divided? The smaller unit is called a hide, and then it goes up from there: tithing, the hundred, the shire, things like that. So how it's all separated, right? Yeah, the shire. They have round doors. The Wulfwald Society, it says NPC attitudes, or who hates whom and why. I love that. I don't know why that's so fucking funny. NPC attitudes. But basically it says that it's a very rigid society, and people live and die in their small communities. The one constant of all of these small communities is that everyone hates you. Because you're an outcast piece of shit.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then there is just a list of who hates who in society. So if you start with the first one here, which is basically like the peasants, right? The peasants are to a lesser extent curls. They hate everyone because they fear everyone, but they are far too servile, cowed, or fearful of a beating to do much about it. Literally, it's who hates these people, who rules these people. It's interesting. And that's neat. Another copy of the map. Is that twice in here? I think the map's in here twice. One vertical and one across two spreads. I'm fine with that.
It is, in fact, in here twice. So,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's literally the middle spread of the book, which would be cool. There's a section here on Write Your Wulfwald. So there's a giant bit of writing here, like a prose poem. This is The Wanderer 2. The wise warrior must understand how ghostly it will be when all this world's wealth stands ruined. And then it continues for a whole page. I love that. So there's a 7-step process for writing your Wulfwald, your campaign. We're not going to talk about them, but they're cool. The 7 steps are setting the tone, where to start, casting the NPCs, as in like creating them, figuring out who they are, where they are, and why. The campaign structure for number 4. Number 5 is beyond kings, and what if it all goes wrong, right? 6 is meanwhile in Southland 6. It says by now you should have a basic idea of how to set up a campaign, but what sort of structure? Blah blah blah. You're gonna read that, right? And then 7 is a session by session discussion, right? You get to Appendix A, which is going to be your optional rules. These are cool. You get reactions. So it's a classic D6 reaction table with modifiers.
Right.
Immediate threat down to tentative friendship, which is neat. You get a taking action section. So outside of magic and combat, most of the game takes place in an abstract narrative form. So there is a way that you can choose to take action. It says, however, if the outcome of an event is disputed, it can be decided with a D6 roll plus or minus any relevant stat bonus. So beat 2 for very easy. 3 for easy, 4 for medium, 5 for hard, 6 for very hard. And then there's a combat order one. So it says you can set order by class in the action, which we talked about a little bit in Swivers. This gives you that kind of like Swivers thing. Not necessarily by weapon type, but just by the action you're doing. So initiative winning skirmishers take half a move, and attack on aim is number 1, and number 10 it's initiative losing warriors move. So it's literally by like the action you want to do and the class you're taking. Very old school, but it is an optional rule. It is interesting. Appendix B is a short adventure. I like that they called it a short misadventure. That's funny. And then appendix, I want to make sure I know. Appendix C is the war band. It is the abstract skirmishing for Wulfwald. So it's basically like troop style. They're derived from troop type. So that's interesting. Definitely fun read on if you want to switch up the kind of positioning, tactical infantry, role playing, things like that. Siege warfare, all sorts of stuff. It's when you're not individually fighting, but you're going to fight as like a group or even a bigger group. One of your freedmen is personality traits, behaviors, and name tables for freedmen NPCs. So you can literally roll for personality, behavior, and name. So do me a solid. Roll me 2 d12s separately, and then a d60 and a d30.
Okay, so the 2 d12s, first one's a 3, second one's a 5.
So you're a sly liar.
And then a d60?
Yeah, just type in 1d60.
Hold on, I was using Google's dice roller. Okay, for a d60, I rolled a 53.
So your will, and then a 1d30.
And then I rolled a 15 on the d30.
Willin, the sly liar.
There you go.
There you go. That's you. That's the freedman.
D60. Fuck you.
Can't be a D66 and a 36 is a D60. So, and then you have a Wulfwald's Who's Who. So I believe, this is a non-hyperlinked. I think.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a non-hyperlinked list of all of the kings, queens, and warlords and stuff for the entire table. So there is a page number listed, but it's unhyperlinked.
Why?
All 5 of these have such a weird mix of bookmarks and hyperlinks and what part's hyperlinked and what's not hyperlinked. Because I do believe starting with, did this one have it?
No, it's the next one.
3. So 3 has a list of who's who and everyone you talked about with page numbers, but not hyperlinks. And the index is still not hyperlinked. Let's move on to 4. This is monsters. An interesting thing about monsters is, guess what? This one randomly, for some reason, does have bookmarks.
Yep.
Pretty extensive ones.
Yeah, actually, super. Yeah, I mean, everything is bookmarked in this.
Yeah. So, real quick rundown of monsters. This is super easy. There are Drakens, Etnas, beasts, and everyone else, and then a creature list. So dragons, sometimes called worms, they are all the progeny of Earthdraka, the Earth Dragon, the Mother Dragon, the first dragon. She hatches an egg every 100 years. There are only 7 living dragons, and there's not going to be any fucking more. Guess why? Because the dwarves have her tortured and steal her eggs.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was opening 5. I forgot I wasn't open on my computer, so I'm prepping for the next one.
Yeah. So there's a picture of her, and there are 7 living dragons. I'm not going to go over them. They're cool. You get a bunch of information. You get a name. You get lore. You get stats. You get other stuff that they can do. Like the first guy is a shapeshifter and a poisoner of hearts and minds. So there's 7 dragons. They're all dope. A lot of them have art. Not every single one of them, but there's cool like half-page spreads for art for a lot of them, like half. And then you move on to the Etnas, like Edens, basically. They're giants. There are 6 giants in the world of Wulfwald. That is it. And when they are all slain, there will be no more.
That's when Ragnarok will come. So
yeah. First one is Beavis of Horhundle. Yeah. Gil. Beavis, Gil, Grogar, the Long Man, the Rude Man. Is that 6? And the Thirsk Man. and the Nightman, he cometh. So that's all those. Same as everything else. You get some lore, you get some stats, you get some bonus shit for it. Really cool. Beasts and everyone else, it's literally fucking everything. It's beastmen, doom goats. It's a massive bestiary. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to skip all of that. They're great art throughout the entire thing, though. Like the art for the marsh fiend with like the sheep running away from it. Fantastic piece of art. That's on page 21. Really dope.
I'm so wrapped up in the doom goats. They have the heads of goats with subtle human features and bodies of humans with not so subtle goat features. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Doom goat.
Glowing hooded robes.
It's that one A24 movie, you know?
Yeah. So again, a lot of great art throughout this entire bestiary section. It's cool. We're going to get down to some weird stuff here at the bottom. Creature list. Dope. Fully fucking hyperlinked. So the first book that has bookmarks also is the first one that is like super well hyperlinked. I think Magic had hyperlinks, but only in the numbers. This is the whole line. Everything is hyperlinked here, right? It says volume 4 and has a list of every dragon, giant, beast, and everyone else on here. Great. Awesome. And then for some reason, the next page is volume 5, which is people.
Oh, yeah, this is where that is. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get to the people section, which is like basically a bestiary, but for like NPCs and people and shit, right? And it is also, none of this information is in this book. For some reason, the people list from volume 5 is in volume 4. And I checked, it is in the book too. It's in the printed book. It's not just it's in the printed book. Very weird. If we go to the back, you'll see that right here, it says...
Just in case you want to know what's in the next volume, you don't have to worry. You already have the page numbers right here.
It says... let me go over. It says volume 5 right there. And the weirdest part of this, which is fine, whatever, they're also hyperlinked. But clearly not to the correct page, because if you go to page 4, you're going to go to a dragon. You're not going to go to the doomed of the elves, right? So it's very weird that this is here at all. And it's even more weird that it's hyperlinked because it's hyperlinked to the wrong pages, because this is correctly hyperlinked for volume 5. If you go to page 4 of volume 5, you're going to get to the elf doomed, right? But not here. But if I click on that, boom, I go to page 4. So it's very weird that it's here. And even if you wanted the list here, you should break all those hyperlinks. Kind of weird. And then underneath that is a creature master list. So it is not just a link to all of the creatures. It's literally all of the stats for every creature, which I think is also dope. This is not hyperlinked, but I'm fine with that. It literally is alphabetized.
It couldn't be easier. That's great there. You know,
have you ever seen a thing where it's literally just like stacked all stats for every creature you need, like right in a row? That's fucking great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and the moment you get to the point where you're so comfortable with this game and so you know the names of things, you're like, I can just find the name really quick. Let
me just hop to the Freedman. Yeah.
You know what's even funnier, real quick, about that volume 5? Oh, never mind. I found it. Never mind. Ignore me. Keep going.
Here's the thing that I don't mind that it's here, because all of those are listed in the master creature list below, right? So if I do want to go to the Phage or the Doomed or whatever, I can go to F, and here it is. Here are the stats. Just break the hyperlinks.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was just copy paste it over, you know, that's my assumption. But just take the page numbers out. Because the page numbers aren't applicable to this volume. It's weird. It's like it's like one of the only like big shining like weird errors we've seen across all the volumes. And then we're gonna go 5, the last volume, and then we're done. We have basically 2 hours and we've cruised close to 250 pages. I'm a fan. So this is people. Yeah, this is people. Let me bring up the cover for 5 so you can see it. Boom. There's the people. Here's the steeple. Here's the people. You know, all that thing. It's got 3 peoples. It's got it's 3 peoples, right, stacked on top of each other. One with the axe, one with the bow, one with the shield. It's dope. I do like this one. Again, the art on this is fantastic. We're gonna go to number 5. Again, this one also is bookmarked. extensively. Table of contents still not hyperlinked. And then it's a breakdown of all the peoples. So we're going to just talk on them. So first is a breakdown of the, so this is more info on the kindred, some stat blocks, including what the PCs would be as NPCs, right? So if you run into a doomed that's not you, what would fighting one be like, right? So for the elf, the elf sin, I wrote...
The elfkin.
The elfkin, bro. That's... I wish you would have said that forever ago.
There's a pronunciation guide.
Bro, fuck off. So the elfkin, I wrote not too much new stuff. It just talks about all the things I talked about before, basically like the trees and all that kind of stuff. The forest fast, the wood guard. It gives a lot, like you could play as a wood guard, but you could fight a wolf guard. And here's the stats for a wood guard. Forest interlopers, those kind of things, right? The doomed, stats for a doomed. Shooters. So basically a lot of the classes that you could be, these are the NPC versions of them if you're fighting against them, right? A great huge page spread of elfkin right here, which are great. Same thing with the dwargars, the dwarves. This goes more deeply into the lore about the dragon worship and like what lies beneath and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. Talks a little bit more about dragon weapons, and then gives you stat blocks for things like Death Dealer and Shield Brother and things like that. There's an image here of the little dwarves talking to the dragon and whatnot. More art, which is cool, full of art. Then you get to the Wraithlings. This has more info on their societal structure. So it says that they gather in wolf packs, war bands, and sometimes even a horde. But I do distinctly remember in the very first book it's saying there aren't other wolf packs. So I think that's that should be clipped out. They gather in war bands and sometimes hordes. They raid across borders, killing, looting, and burning stuff. It's considered uncouth by men. As many Wraithling cultures are whatever. This is a breakdown of the entire Wraithling societal structure, which is really, really, really cool. It gives more stats for young spears and the poison battle arrow ones and things like that. Shield warriors, really interesting. Again, stats for all of these, art for all of these. Yeah, it's cool. And then the witches have stat blocks here too, different kinds of witches and whatnot. And then you get to the earthward. They are the men, quote unquote. So it gives you a breakdown of the Wolfsheads, more societal roles, like the Prals, Burras, and Kurals, then levies, basically all the lesser peasants and all that kind of shit. You get information, freedmen, stats.
This, you know?
Yeah. This is exactly what this is. It's a giant lore NPC book, which is, you know where this should be? In its own fucking book. And you know what's great about this? It's in its own book. So if you don't need this info, you don't have to fuck with it. I love it. I love the format of this. Going through that, more people, more stuff, more art. This is exactly what I think these fuckers would look like too. The great piece of art here on this page, on page 33. And then, talking about the royal household, warrior queens, princes, kings, all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, the men rule the world, so there's more info on them than anybody else, but they're obviously the least interesting fucks in here. There's a whole section here on the Shining One, so more information on the Shining Ones, which, you know, obviously big fan.
Of course. Who isn't?
A full page piece of art for a king. And then we get to the back of the book, which is the people list, which is the same list that we just said shouldn't be in volume 4, or if it is, the page number should be removed because it is hyperlinked, not the index, but all of this is hyperlinked. There is also a typo here in the very bottom of the very last page. It says the full list of creatures and all their stat blocks are at the end of book 5. That's actually should say book 4, and in the print version it does say book 4. So that's another typo in the PDFs.
Oh, well, at least they fixed it for the print.
They did fix it for the print, which is great. And obviously the list is not hyperlinked in the book, but it does list the wrong page numbers because it's in the wrong volume for volume 4 at the end. And that's it. That's the entire fucking thing. That is 250 pages. That is 5 booklets. That is the entire box set for Wulfwald. I think we did a damn good job. If we would have done this episode like we've done normal episodes, we'd be here for 5 fucking hours. Or we'd have to skip half of it. So we're going to hop into the review scores here for Wulfwald. Clearly, this is going to be a book. I think that we should... like look at them kind of as a whole.
I agree.
Yeah, you're weirdly off to the side. I think you moved your camera.
I did not move my camera.
Well, okay. Regardless, I'm gonna move you real quick, and then we're gonna get going. So, again, we do what we do here on the show. We give actual metrics. We give numbers to we quantify our terrible opinions with metrics and numbers for books, quote unquote books, things that are like 40 pages plus. We use 5 values. For things that are less, we use 3. For this, obviously, we're gonna constitute it as a book. It is 250-ish pages. You can get up to 10 points in each metric. The first is art and layout, which is the quality, quantity, and use of the art in the book, and the visual layout and style of the layout in the book. For second is usability. It is how easy it is to take it to the table, how easy it is to navigate with the book and the PDFs. The rule set, if it's an adapted rule set, how do we like it? If it's a unique rule set, how do we like it? Originality is a combination of all those things and more. And value is bang for your buck. It is what you get for the money that you spend, which could be digital tools, extra adventures, third-party license to create stuff, all that kind of stuff. So on top of the cost of the actual product. So let's start with art and layout. What are your thoughts?
Good. I mean, the art that's in there, I really enjoy. The layout's very clean, very readable, nice and spacious. It does have some like page decorations here and there, and in the top right hand corner label of each spread telling you where you are. I like the art and layout.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the layout. I think this is when I want like a really simple, straightforward layout. Like if I'm gonna get black on white, black text on white pages, this is what I want it to look like. The margins are nicely sized. Yeah, the text is nice and big. It's not super fucking tiny, which I think the zine format helps. It allows each zine to spread a little bit instead of like worrying about expanding your page count to 250, 350, 450. The text is super readable. There's not too much information per page or per section. Everything is broken down really, really well. I think this is extremely well laid out for readability, and I think it looks very clean. I think when you look at a 2-page spread and you see the design in the top corner and I think it's super clean. I think the art looks fucking great. I think all of the graphics on the cover of each zine are great. I think there's a piece of art for every one of the 12 classes.
True.
Like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 monsters have a piece of art. There's very little outside of the class section, I think, that has some area on the bottom, which I wouldn't want to put art in there anyway. When we were flipping through things like the NPC list, you could see even across the bottom, they had like the dragon like across the bottom. They filled space really, really well. The art is neat. I think it's really appropriate for the setting. It looks very Anglo-Saxon and things like that. I dig this. I really dig this.
What number are you thinking?
I think it's really good. I don't know if I think it's like great or blows me away, but I'm probably around a 7.
Dead on the 7.
Yeah, I think 7 feels good for this. Because again, it's super clean, super crazy, but are really nice. It's very nice. Nothing about it like super blows me away, but for simplicity and ease of read and cleanness, like I think this is really fantastic. Usability. So this is one that's got a lot of ups and a lot of downs.
It does have a lot of ups and downs. I was just thinking, I'm like, there's things I like. It's divided up into separate zines. They're incredibly usable. It's in the order that kind of makes sense even within those zines, right? The downs, sometimes there are bookmarks. Most of the time, there's not. Sometimes there are hyperlinks. Most of the time, there's not.
Yeah. As far as this is the thing is like we're going to talk about like the physical almost versus the digital, which a lot of times it doesn't matter because it's one book, but this is 5 books, right? I am obsessed with the format of this. I'm obsessed with the box set 5-zine plus the cloth map format.
Yeah.
I think this is the ideal way to give people information that you need. If this was one 250-page book, I would struggle to bring this to the show because I'm over reading books that are if you talk about the page count as a positive.
I saw that
in
Blue
your
Sky
marketing,
well.
bro. Max,
Was that Max?
You're 100% right, bro. What's funny is like right before that, I saw someone wrote, "We made a 350-page book." I'm like, I don't want it. Like, that's not a good thing to me. Like, your system takes 350 pages to explain it to me. Make 2 books, bro. Like, come on. Like, so physically, I'm obsessed with it. I love it. With the layout stuff that we talked before, visually talking about that and actually usability, God, it's easy to read. It's so fucking easy to read. The spreads are beautiful. The lack of character sheet sucks.
Yeah.
The lack of hyperlinks on the indexes. Deal.
Everything has a fucking character sheet, bro.
Yeah. And all the match casters have character sheets.
Yeah.
In the book. But I really wish even just the indexes at the beginning were hyperlinked. I love that the character lists and the NPC lists and stuff like that are hyperlinked. Thank you. But I really miss the hyperlinks at the beginning. Like half of the books aren't bookmarked. So digitally, it takes a hit. Physically, I'm obsessed with it. Yeah. I honestly, God, I'm
digitally like, for me, if this is digital only, it's a 5.
Yes. Well, I would say 6 across all 5 because we do get bookmarks and hyperlinks in like half of them.
Okay, so it averages up to a 6. And then I think physically for me, it's closer to an 8. And so I think I'm in the middle of that. So I think it's 7.
I'm down. I 100% agree with this. I will say easy that if all of the indexes, even just the indexes were hyperlinked, even if there weren't bookmarks anymore, if just the indexes in the top 5 PDFs were hyperlinked, this would be an easy 8, unquestionably. Yeah. I love the format of this. Please, I think if you're going to make a giant...
Go ahead.
What's your caveat? No.
My caveat for this is like, I would not buy this digitally only. I would not. I would be like, this is, you need to, if you're going to get this, get the physical. Don't get the digital only because it's less usable.
I mean...
or the usability suffers.
Yeah, I think for us, but I think I don't even know if there is a physical digital only, but if that's what you can afford, get it because it's fucking slap super hard.
Yeah,
I think cool. We care more about the hyperlinks than some people do, so I wouldn't discourage people from getting it because of that. I would definitely encourage Paolo to maybe release a new version of this with some bonus hyperlinks at the top. That would be really fantastic. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Also, this is when we get to value, just get the physical. Oh my God. Rule set. So here's the thing.
What rule
set?
It
has one.
Does
right?
it?
It does. It because there are rules for everything. All it doesn't do is give you the base core stuff. On purpose, it specifically says use the core of whatever BX you want, and then just here are the modifiers. And I think it works so fucking well and cuts so many pages off of the book. And specifically, I really love, again, I'm going to read this. Bring your own rules. You don't need yet another booklet explaining how to roll to hit, save, or find a secret door. If we're looking at this from the context of it saying, well, I'm not giving you BX rules, you fucking know them. And if you're reading this, you should know them. Take it from there. I think it's completely valid to not have this stuff in there. Yeah, if we're looking at it from the context... Teasing. Yeah, but no, I think it's valid. If we're looking at it from the context of someone who's never played BX picking this up and going, how do you swing a sword? It's never explained. That's a completely valid point. I want to rate this from the context that it gives us, which is Absolutely. If you are familiar with the game, I'm not going to tell you how to swing a sword. You know it's D20 rollover plus modifier, right? But so if we remove core rule set and just look at what's added on to it, I mean, the rules, I think of like little rules like the deadly fatigue for the necromancer is such a good fucking rule. I love the entire magic zine is so fantastic. I love the way that the weapons are modifiers versus the class modifiers. I think the classes are super clean and super well done. Prime attribute is fantastic. I mean, I fuck with this rule set so heavily. Like if I'm going to play D&D, this is my fucking D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons, bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is great. I think it really sets up like for a specific type of campaign, and then constantly reinforces like the themes of what you are doing and what makes this different from like a regular BX gather gold game.
Yeah.
I really dig this a lot. I think the rule
Yeah.
set for me is like it's as much as I personally want. Like I said when we first got in here, like I like you and I don't need to be explained the basics.
Mm.
This is like an advanced player's game, and I really enjoyed that, and I think it does it well. And then I think the stuff that's included is meaningful. I honestly, for the rule set, I think it's gonna be the highest score. I mean, it's probably like an 8 for me. You
Yeah,
know?
I think it's an easy 8 for me. I think it's an easy 8 for me. Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. I'd already pledged in there. Originality. Okay, so there aren't a ton of games like this. The one that we think of right off the top of our head is Wolves Upon the Coast, right? This is similar-ish.
Right.
Similar-ish.
Yeah, I mean, Outcast Silver Raiders is also a very similar time period and like.
Oh,
setting.
you know what? True.
I mean, I think for period and setting, it's not like the single most original thing ever. Oh, look at that. Would you believe I gave mine away?
I would believe it.
Yeah. Because I did. Yeah. Where are you with this one?
So here's the thing that I love about the setting, right? That's where that was.
Oh, look, Traveler.
Oh, I'm just through it with the rest of my Traveler stuff. I have a whole. God, I have so much Traveler. We need to do that episode this year.
I am,
bro. I think the originality is through the fucking roof on this. Like, honestly, when I just think of the way that you have to cast spells,
yeah, that does give a lot to it.
It gives a lot, and then even just the way that the campaign is set up, right? It's D&D, but it's literally says it's not a dungeon crawler, it's not a wilderness explorer. You're going to use those basic rules plus what I've given you, and you're going to do covert black ops missions with your societal outcasts, trying to regain respect and stuff like that. I think it's great. I think
good.
this is how to do a retro clone. In that, don't give me a whole book of your slight, like 1 degree different rules and your take on it. I can use the rules I want. Give me setting and all the rules I need to reinforce that setting over and over and over again. I love that. I don't know. I'm pretty fucking high on the originality for this. I think the setting is fantastic. I think the rules are fantastic. I think the format is not something you see a ton, which I think adds to the originality of it too. I think even I'll give you originality points for even the beginning part where it literally says like, I'm not giving you those rules because you don't fucking need them. I expect you. This is a game for people that are in the hobby already. I even love that. I think it's great. I personally think it's great. Where
Give
are
me
you?
a number.
I'm an 8 for this.
I think 8's fine. I was starting lower, but you've really sold me with the past few sentences. I'm like, you know what? You're fucking right, Ryan.
Yeah, I am fucking right. Value for this. Okay, so if you want to get this right now from the Lost Pages website, I do think maybe could you check Exalted Funeral real quick to see if they have those over there for the dirty fucking Americans. But so the Wulfwald box set plus PDF right now on the Lost Pages website is £40, which for Americans
it's like $48.90. Yeah.
Yeah, so $48 for the 5 zine box set. Each zine being like 50 to 60 pages. I got a 50-page zine behind me that they charge $35 fucking for. All right, without PDF. Another 15 for the PDF for $50 fucking for one 50-page zine. You're getting 5 zines for $40 to $50. Is it on Exalted? I don't know.
It is on Exalted. It is out of stock right now. It's $60 on Exalted.
$60 on Exalted. And well, it's Exalted. So if you order directly from the website, you will pay the $48 plus shipping. So it probably comes out to about the same, but you'll pay shipping and Exalted too, unless you go over like $100. So we're going to say it is the £48 plus shipping to wherever you are. You get the gorgeous box set. You get all 5 zines. You get the huge cloth map. You get PDFs of all of it. I think that's honestly an insane fucking deal.
Yeah, I think that's pretty darn good.
That's ridiculous. My assumption, even though I don't remember seeing it anywhere else, is that Paolo would be totally fine with people making Wulfwald content, because I think that's kind of how they are. But there is no third-party license. I can imagine, though, that they would be okay with that. Not like they could stop him. They just could say it's for use with Wulfwald. It's not from Wulfwald.
Yeah.
But also you do get an adventure in the book, and you get the entire campaign structure and how to build one and do everything. So I think what you get for this is pretty darn fucking good for only getting basically this in the digital version. I think that's quite a bit. I would say this is probably really good to me. I think.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. I'm thinking about the same place, probably about a 7.
Probably about a 7. Yeah. So that's those are our scores. And I'm gonna add this up, but don't forget, this year we did, starting at the beginning of the year, and every year we do this, scores are gradually getting kind of not lower and lower, but a little bit more refined. We did refine our system a little bit. So because one reason is when we did our year in review, there was like 15 games with an 8 for a rule set. And those definitely could have been spread out a little bit more. So we
also have an 8 for rule set right now.
Yeah, but it deserves it. So when we look at the totals for this, it is 7 plus 7 plus 8 plus 8 plus 7. That is a 37. That is a solid fucking score. That's right about where I expected this to end up. Again, if we went back and redid probably like our first like 50 games, you could probably chop about 3 points off every one of those. And that'd probably be about where we're at now. So I think when we were being maybe a little bit more generous a year plus ago, this probably would be in the 40s. But again, we're being a little bit more, what's the word you used? Why do I keep starts with the D maybe? Discerning. 37 is fantastic. I fuck with this game super hard. Like I said, if I was playing D&D, this is a D&D I would want to play. Yeah. The game slaps super hard. The product goes even fucking harder. This is probably my favorite box set on my shelf. First of all, the box is gorgeous. The zines are gorgeous. It's great. That is the game. That is Wulfwald from Paolo Greco of Lost Pages. We'll make sure all the links are below. We haven't decided what we're going to do next week. We will talk about it. We do. Yeah, I know we said we're doing less interviews, and we are. We do have one next week, though. We have not announced what it is yet, and we'll wait to do that maybe over the weekend. But Monday, we will be having some special guests on. And probably then we'll tell you what we're going to do Friday as well. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Hunter, beautiful as always. And we will see you later, everybody. Bye. Bye.